Dual Cultivation audiobook by Kevin Chapter 601, turning it up a notch after pondering for a good minute. Sun Jingjing spoke in a serious voice. To tell you the truth, I feel worried but not in a bad way. Sister liking, she's the type of woman that makes other women feel inferior. She's not only beautiful but also has a great figure, and she has this mature aura that feels very soothing and elegant. If I did not already receive your family mark, I would worry that she might take you away from me. However, sister liking, she was not always like this. She used to be more, how should I describe her, arrogant and a little too prideful. I am not trying to talk badly about her, but that's just how the other disciples saw her in the past. Hearing Sun Jingjing describe Su Liking's character in the past, Su Yang smiled and said, I know exactly what you mean. When I first met her, she was your typical sect elder who has this sense of superiority and absolutely despised anyone who did not respect her authority or status. That's it. That's exactly what I mean, Sun Jingjing quickly said. However, she no longer has that type of demeanor. Instead, she gives off the feeling of an experienced and elegant housewife. I think the cause of this change is her relationship with you, Su Yang. I feel like everyone that becomes affiliated with you will change one way or another, and I am speaking from my personal experience. You are giving me too much credit, Su Yang said. They say people who are capable of changing are only returning to their original self. Even if you say that, I believe you are a major reason why we change, Sun Jingjing said. And speaking of change, let's change into something more comfortable. She then began loosening his robes along with her own. A few moments later, they were fully naked with Sun Jingjing on top of Su Yang. I don't want to lose to sister liking, she suddenly said to him. Su Yang showed her a smile and spoke while caressing her face. No matter your differences, I love you all the same. You don't have to compete with her because I will give you as much attention as I will give to everyone else. I know you will, but this is my own pride as a woman. I may not be as experienced as the others, nor am I anything special, but I still want to do my best, Sun Jingjing said before kissing him on the lips. After kissing passionately for a few minutes, Sun Jingjing moved from his mouth to the raging boner between his legs and began kissing that. Sun Jingjing gently sucked on the thick shaft while licking him inside with her soft tongue. You can come inside my mouth, Su Yang, she said to him. After a few minutes of sucking, Sun Jingjing could feel the shaft growing hotter and becoming stiffer. A few more moments later, hot yang qi shot out of the shaft and directly into her mouth. Chapter mid. Sun Jingjing immediately began swallowing the overflowing yang qi, feeling a hot sensation flowing down her throat and into her stomach. Haya, Sun Jingjing panted heavily afterward. Lay down, I'll please you now. Su Yang suddenly stood up and said to her. Sun Jingjing nodded her head and laid on the bed with her slender legs spread wide open, revealing every inch of her cave to him. Seeing the beautiful pink slit, Su Yang immediately approached it with his mouth, and he began to skillfully caress the meat with his tongue. Sun Jingjing moaned in an erotic voice, and her entire body twitched with delight with a tingly feeling coursing through every inch of her body. Slurping noises quickly filled the room as Su Yang savored Sun Jingjing's wet paradise. I'm coming, Su Yang, Sun Jingjing said to him before her hole gushed with sparkling liquid. However, Su Yang did not move and continued to lick her little sister, allowing her yin qi to shower him. Haya, Sun Jingjing panted afterward. Once the holy rain was over, Su Yang stood up and rubbed his thick shaft against Sun Jingjing's slit, coating his sword with her yin qi. I'm putting it in, Su Yang said to her as he pushed the tip of his shaft into her tight cave, spreading the slit wide open. Sun Jingjing's eyes rolled back just from experiencing just the tip of his shaft, feeling her small cave spreading wider and wider as Su Yang's sword pierced deeper into her body. Once his entire shaft was inside Sun Jingjing's body, Su Yang began thrusting his hips, moving back and forth in a rhythmic manner. "You're tighter than usual," he said to her with a smile, feeling her inner walls tightly squeezing his shaft. "I've doubled my training after all. Oh, then let's see if that training paid off." Su Yang suddenly changed his movements and moved much fiercer than before. This is amazing," Sun Jingjing said with an expression filled with bliss and pleasure. "I'm going to turn it up a notch," Su Yang said to her. A few seconds later, Sun Jingjing began moaning even louder, much louder than she has ever before. What is this feeling? What is happening? This is different from anything I have experienced before." Sun Jingjing thought she was imagining things at first, but after feeling it for a little bit longer, she was certain that Su Yang's shaft had suddenly grown bigger. Sun Jingjing decided to lift her head to look at her stomach, and sure enough, the bump on her stomach was much larger than usual. "What do you think? Do you like it?" Su Yang asked her with a smile on his face. I love it very much. Whatever you are doing, I want you to continue doing it." Sun Jingjing spoke in a voice filled with excitement, and she even started moving her hips on her own. Chapter 602, entrusting her body to him. On. Ooh. Sun Jingjing Ned loudly as something more massive than usual passionately brushed against the soft inner walls of her sacred cave, feeling as though her inner walls were being spread to its limits. A few minutes later, when Sun Jingjing reached her limits, Su Yang released his yang qi deep into her body, filling every inch of her cave with a sticky white substance. Sun Jingjing released a sharp moan simultaneously, and her flower sprayed with yin qi. Ha. Sun Jingjing panted heavily, feeling as though she was losing her consciousness. After catching her breath sometime later, she asked him in a bewildered voice, "What on earth was that just now, Su Yang?" "Why don't you see for yourself?" Su Yang said to her. Sun Jingjing slightly lifted herself to look at the rod between his legs. What? How is that possible? A gaping hole appeared on Sun Jingjing's face after seeing the size of his shaft that was much larger than she can recall. "If you are surprised with just that, look at what else I can do," Su Yang suddenly said, and right before her eyes, his shaft began growing longer and thicker. Sun Jingjing watched with her eyes as wide as saucers, looking as though she was witnessing something impossible. "What? How?" She was so speechless that she couldn't even find the words to ask him about it. "This technique is called myriad transformation, and it's a technique I'd created after taking inspiration from another transformation technique. With this technique, I can extend or increase the size of certain parts of my body as I desire, even changing its shape," Su Yang explained to her. Is there a limit to that technique?" Sun Jingjing asked him in a dazed voice. "Not that I know of." Su Yang shook his head. Sun Jingjing was speechless. Does this mean he can change the size and shape of his little brother however he pleases? This essentially means that he can please any woman in this world without any limitations, as he can simply transform his penis to perfectly fit whichever hole it's inside. This is, without doubt, the pinnacle of dual cultivation techniques for a man. "Do you want to experience it again?" Su Yang suddenly asked her, who was staring at his shaft with a yearning gaze. "Why, yes." Sun Jingjing wasted no time nodding her head and spreading her legs. Su Yang smiled and inserted his shaft into her cave again. He then used myriad transformation to adjust the size and shape of his penis until it fitted Sun Jingjing's cave perfectly, leaving no space untouched. Sun Jingjing could feel her little sister drooling uncontrollably, and her heart was filled with anticipation. Oh heavens! When Su Yang began moving, Sun Jingjing nearly went crazy from the intense pleasure coming from her hole, feeling as though she just entered heaven. It was a whole new level of pleasure that she was not expecting. However, because of the overwhelming pleasure, she was only able to enjoy it for a little over a minute before Su Yang had to pull his shaft out of her body. W. Why did you stop, Su Yang? She asked him with a puzzled expression, her voice filled with sadness, sounding almost like a deprived child who just had candy stolen straight from her mouth. You won't be able to handle more than a minute of this technique at your current state, or it might permanently affect your mind. If you want to experience more of this technique for a longer duration, you'll have to improve your endurance. Then are there any methods that'll help me improve my endurance faster? She quickly asked him. Su Yang nodded and said, naturally, there are methods to improve your endurance quickly, but I do not recommend doing so, as it might harm your body in the process. Don't worry, Jingjing. As long as you continue to cultivate with me normally, your endurance will naturally improve, and before you know it, you'll be able to handle the myriad transformation for hours without rest. But won't that take a long time? Sun Jingjing sighed. Now that I've experienced such a divine technique, I will no longer be satisfied with anything else. Hearing her words, Su Yang smiled and said, if you think the myriad transformation is the pinnacle of my abilities, then I will have to disappoint you. The myriad transformation is only the tip of the iceberg, and as your endurance improves, I will also increase the pleasure you feel. Really? Sun Jingjing looked at him with wide eyes. Why would I lie to you? Su Yang said to her, and he suddenly grabbed her hands and pinned her body to the bed. But since you want to improve your endurance so much, I can help you with that. However, it's not going to be easy. In fact, it might even break you a little. Seeing the sadistic smile on Su Yang's face, Sun Jingjing swallowed nervously. However, she still smiled and said, I know that you're trying your best to hold back your real abilities, Su Yang. Even though you are always satisfying your partners, you cannot fully satisfy yourself because you are afraid of breaking us. That's why I want to improve myself as fast as possible so that I can relieve some of your restraints. Jingjing. A warm expression appeared on Su Yang's handsome face, and he said, even if that's true, I do not wish to see you harming yourself for my sake. If anything, I should be the one to bear that responsibility. Please, Su Yang, I insist. And I trust that you won't harm me, she said to him. After a moment of pondering, Su Yang nodded. Okay, then let's do it. If it becomes too painful to bear, let me know. Then I will entrust my body to you, Su Yang. Sun Jingjing said as she relaxed her body, giving Su Yang full access to her body. Sometime later, Su Yang inserted his shaft into Sun Jingjing and began moving his HIPS chapter 603-1 in 10,000 women, tilde. Sun Jingjing ned wildly as Su Yang pounded her tight cave with passion for over an hour straight, feeling as though her entire body was burning from pleasure. I'm cumming. I'm cumming again, she shouted. Sun Jingjing panted heavily afterward. She had climaxed so many times during the past hour that she has long lost count. Haya. Su Yang stopped moving to let Sun Jingjing rest. However, the breaks did not last very long, and Su Yang began moving his HIPS before Sun Jingjing could fully recover from her previous climax. Tilde. Sun Jingjing tightly grasped the bedsheets, her body trembled uncontrollably, and she released another round of yin qi a few moments later. However, Su Yang did not stop his movements this time and continued to thrust his shaft into her body, stimulating the pleasure even further. Although Sun Jingjing was releasing her yin qi every few minutes, it felt to her as though she was constantly climaxing every second without any breaks, yet she did not tell Su Yang to stop, fully indulging herself in this endless cycle of pleasure. A few more hours had passed since they started cultivating, yet the two of them remained on the bed and embracing each other. However, Sun Jingjing was no longer moaning, as she had long lost her voice from moaning too much, and her body was soaked in sweat, looking as though she'd just left a bathtub filled with water. A few more minutes later, Sun Jingjing suddenly cried out loud. However, it was not the usual pleasant-sounding voice but a painful one instead. And hearing this painful cry, Su Yang immediately stopped moving and said, "This is your limit. If I continue any further, it will really harm your body." Sun Jingjing did not respond and merely nodded her head slightly, as that was all of the energy she could muster at this moment. Su Yang then removed his shaft from her body and went to retrieve his storage ring. A few moments later, he returned to Sun Jingjing's side with a pill in his hand. He then tossed the pill into his own mouth and crushed it into tiny pieces, before drinking some water and kissing Sun Jingjing, pushing the melted pill into her mouth and down her throat. The pill did not immediately help Sun Jingjing recover, so he carried her to the bathroom to wash her body in the meantime. After washing the sweat and his yang qi off her body, Su Yang retrieved a clean bed from his storage ring and exchanged it for the dirty one before gently laying her body on it. A few minutes later, when Sun Jingjing recovered enough energy to speak, she said to him in a low voice, "I thought that I would be able to pleasure you for half a day at least, but alas. Don't worry about it, you did great for someone who's not used to hardcore cultivation." Su Yang said to her with a smile. "Tell me the truth, Su Yang, how much of your true ability did you use just now?" she asked him. "About 30%, Su Yang said. 30%. Sun Jingjing laughed in a dispirited manner and sighed afterward. "Looks like I am still very far away from accepting all of you. Don't look so down. Out of the countless people I have embraced in my previous life, only a handful of people were able to handle me at 90%, much less 100%. In fact, only 1 in 10,000 women can handle me above 30% even after knowing me for 1 year. Sun Jingjing looked at him with a dazed face. Just how many women did he have sex with that allowed him to make out such a statistic? It must be in the hundreds of thousands. Get some good rest tonight. Although it may take some time, you'll eventually be able to handle me at my best, and when that time comes, I'll let you experience the pinnacle of pleasure." The pinnacle of pleasure, Sun Jingjing mumbled to herself with her heart filled with anticipation. "I'm also going to be stricter on myself in training so that I won't fall behind even when we leave this place. Whether it be sister liking or anyone else in the family, I won't lose to them." Sun Jingjing swore in her heart with a resolute face. Su Yang left the place a few moments later, and Sun Jingjing fell asleep shortly later. However, because of the hardcore experience today, she will need some time to fully recover, restricting her cultivation for a while. After leaving Sun Jingjing's place, Su Yang did not return to the Yin-Yang Pavilion and instead went to the medicine hall. "Sect Master," the disciples inside immediately greeted him. "Are you here for our master? She's currently upstairs," they quickly said to him. Su Yang nodded and said, "Once I am finished with her, I'll cultivate with you girls if you want." The disciples there stared at him with dazed expressions. "After all, I never managed to fulfill my promise to cultivate with you girls because of the incident with the Million Snake sect. If you don't want to, that's fine too," Su Yang said to them as he approached the staircase. We want to cultivate with you," the disciples hastily responded as if they feared that he might suddenly change his mind. Su Yang nodded. "I will let your master know later." Once Su Yang went upstairs, all of the disciples there celebrated by jumping up and down, filling the place with joyous laughter and loud noises. Meanwhile, when Su Liking heard the commotion downstairs, she prepared to head downstairs to see what had happened, but after seeing Su Yang at the door, she quickly gave up that thought and said to him, "What did you say to my disciples to cause such a commotion?" "I promised them that I'd cultivate with them later," he said with a smile. "No wonder." She laughed at his words, and she continued, "They have been dying to cultivate with you since they returned to the sect, but they were also afraid that you might reject them because of what happened." "I wouldn't do anything like that," he shook his head. "I know, and I told them that, but they didn't want to listen to me." Su Liking sighed. Anyway, what brings you here, Su Yang? Chapter 604. Do you want to stick it in my butt? I came here to give you something, Su Yang said, and he retrieved a scroll from his storage ring before placing it before Su Liking. This is a cultivation technique. Su Liking raised her eyebrows at the scroll on the table. This is a cultivation technique that means a lot to me, and I want you to have it. However, whether you want to cultivate it or not will be entirely up to you. What do you mean by that? Why would you give me something you don't want me to cultivate? She only felt even more confused. To tell you the truth, you are not suited for dual cultivation, Su Yang suddenly said to her, and he continued, however, that is not to say that you have no talent in dual cultivation. In fact, you are quite talented in that regard. It's just that you are more talented with the sword. I'm talented with the sword, but I have rarely held a sword in my life, and I only know the very basics. She responded with a dazed expression. I know this may be very sudden to you, but as someone who's trained with a sword for a good chunk of his life, I can tell whether someone is talented with swords or not just by looking at their physique, and you Liking have the perfect physique, Su Yang said to her, and he continued. In fact, your physique is very familiar to someone that I used to know, hence why I chose that technique for you. Su Liking then opened the scroll and read the cultivation technique out loud. Vanishing sword dance. Despite having never seen or heard this technique before, Su Liking felt very familiar with it, almost as though it was already in her memories. Including me, there are only 4 individuals who have learned this technique before, and 2 of them are no longer in this world. This sword technique was created by my first love, who was also my first wife, but after she passed away, I took this technique and refined it until I can no longer improve it. Su Yang explained the importance of the technique to Su Liking. Such an important technique. I don't think I can accept it, Su Liking said after hearing his words. However, Su Yang shook his head and said, no matter who it once belonged to or what importance it may hold, cultivation techniques are meant to be passed down, or it will lose all of its meanings. I do not wish for this technique to disappear through the passage of time, nor do I want to give it to just anybody, so I am going to give it to you, who I care deeply enough to entrust such an important technique. Furthermore, you have the same physique as my first wife who created this technique. There's simply nobody in this world that's more fitting than you to have this technique. Su Yang. Su Liking was speechless at this moment, as she was overwhelmed by her emotions. Sometime later, Su Liking asked him, if I decide to learn this technique, will you still cultivate with me? Of course. Su Yang immediately nodded without even needing to think about it. The vanishing sword dance is mostly a martial technique. If you wish to improve your cultivation, you still have to cultivate normally. If you want, you can even become a dual cultivator and a swordmaster at the same time, like me. Thank you, Su Yang, for entrusting me with such a precious technique, she said with a beautiful smile on her face. You can find me whenever you decide to start practicing the technique. I'll guide you step by step. I will start practicing tomorrow, she said. Sometime later, Su Liking asked him, do you have anything else for me, Su Yang? No, I don't. Do you have anything for me? He shook his head. Of course. I cannot accept a gift from you without properly thanking you. Su Liking then stood up and grabbed his hands, before pulling him towards the bed a few meters away. Now that we have so many new disciples, I have been so busy with work that I haven't been able to see you recently. But now that you are here, I can finally have some fun. Su Liking gently pushed Su Yang onto the bed before kneeling before his legs and approaching his crotch with her hands. A few moments later, she loosened the area between his legs, allowing his dragon to soar freely. Su Liking shoved the entire shaft into her mouth in one go and began moving her head back and forth. Su Yang closed his eyes and fully indulged himself in Su Liking's soft lips and skillful tongue, allowing her to savor his big brother until she was satisfied. Many minutes later, Su Liking removed her lips from his shaft and stood up while loosening her own robes. She then sat directly on his lap, shoving his thick rod into her wet cave. Aunt and Tilda. Su Liking him. Oh, Ned softly, feeling a tingly sensation coursing through her body. She began moving her hips shortly later, riding Su Yang's shaft elegantly. Meanwhile, Su Yang silently stared at her beautifully shaped and soft buttocks from behind, watching them shake from the impact and feeling a strong urge to grab them. A few moments later, Su Yang gave in to his urges and reached for Su Liking's buttocks, firmly grabbing them with his large hands. Tilda, Su Liking him. Oh, Ned loudly in response to his touch, and she turned around to look at him with a seductive look. I've noticed this for a while now, but you really like touching my butt, she said to him with a teasing smile. It's a flawless piece of treasure after all. I can't help but want to touch it whenever I see it, Su Yang said without feeling any shame. Su Liking suddenly stopped moving her body and said to him a moment later in a somewhat hesitant voice, "Then, do you want to stick it in my butt?" Chapter 605. Spreading her buttocks wide open, Su Liking silently stared at Su Yang with a somewhat dazed expression. When she realized what she just said to him, her face flushed with redness. "Oh no, I spoke too hastily just now. What if he thinks of me as some weird girl now?" she cried inwardly, feeling the urge to jump into a hole. Forget what I said just now. I was only joking," she said to him a moment later. However, Su Yang interrupted her with a smile on his face. "There's no need to feel embarrassed about it. No matter which hole you want me to pleasure, I will do so to the best of my abilities. Furthermore, it's not as though I have no experience with that hole. In fact, there are plenty of people who prefer it in the back. Come, stick your butt towards my way." Su Liking was speechless, feeling as though she'd heard the last sentence somewhere before. Are you sure? You won't think I'm weird?" she asked him again just in case. "There's no way that I would think you're weird just because you want to experience something new, Liking. I have had even weirder requests before. In fact, I think you are brave for taking it in the back, as not many women are willing to do this," Su Yang said. Hearing his words and seeing his serious expression, Su Liking eventually nodded her head. She then crawled on the bed in the doggy position with her beautiful buttocks facing him. Despite the arousing scene, Su Yang did not immediately stick his shaft in her butt and instead took a moment to admire the view of Su Liking's butt and everything in between. After engraving this view in his mind, Su Yang approached her behind, before spreading her buttocks wide open for an even clearer view. He then poked the tiny hole that was located directly above her pink cave with his finger. Tilda, Su Liking's body trembled at his touch. "Since this is your first time, I will loosen the hole up a bit before putting in the real thing. This way you won't feel as much pain." It's going to be painful," Su Liking asked him with a nervous expression. "It will hurt in the beginning, but once the hole starts to spread and loosen itself, you will feel only pleasure afterward." "Okay," Su Liking nodded her head, entrusting her butthole to him. "I'm going to start with one finger," said Su Yang as he gently pushed one of his fingers into her tiny hole. Su Liking him. Ned loudly, and she could feel her butthole slowly spreading widely. "This feeling is only one finger." Su Liking was greatly shocked, as it felt like there was more than one finger currently inside her butthole. And if a single finger already feels so big, she cannot imagine what will happen when Su Yang sticks the real thing into such a tiny hole. "Is it even going to fit inside?" she thought to herself. A few minutes later, once the hole was loose enough, Su Yang increased from one finger to 2 fingers. Tilda. The feeling of 2 fingers inside her butthole was vastly different than having only one, and it was a whole new level of pleasure, causing Su Liking to climax through the front hole. "Su Yang, this is. Do you like it?" he asked her. She nodded in a bashful manner. "Then let's loosen it up some more with just the tip." Su Yang removed his fingers and poked her butthole with the tip of his penis. Heavens! Su Liking cried out loud from shock. This is just the tip. She thought her butthole was going to tear in half just now, feeling excruciating pain from it. Do you want to stop now? Su Yang asked her after seeing her painful expression. No, I can handle it. She shook her head. Then I will start moving now, he said to her before he slowly moved his hips, poking her small hole with just the tip of his shaft. Ayan, Su Liking Ned loudly. Although it was painful at first, as her butthole started stretching wider, the pain also lessened, and very soon there was only pleasure coming from her butthole. A few minutes later, Su Liking said to him in a pleading voice, "You can insert the whole thing inside now, Su Yang." Hearing her words, Su Yang responded by pushing his shaft deeper into her narrow hole until his entire rod inside her tunnel, feeling his shaft being tightly squeezed by her insides. Is it all inside yet? Su Liking asked him a moment later. Yes, it is. How do you feel? Painful, but it's endurable, she responded in a low voice. And she continued, you can start moving. I can endure it. Su Yang nodded and began moving his hips shortly later. Ah! Su Liking bit down on her lips from the pain of her butthole being pierced by a massive shaft that was many times larger than the hole itself. Meanwhile, Su Yang felt as though he just entered heaven from the squeezing feeling from her narrow tunnel and her soft buttocks that pressed against his pelvic area every time he thrust his hips, not to mention the strong sucking sensation that kept pulling his shaft deeper into her hole. Ah! 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 Su Liking Ned without restraint, her expression and voice filled with pleasure and lust. And every time Su Yang moved his hips, her front cave would drool with yin qi before leaking down her thighs. A few moments later, Su Liking screamed with a look of ecstasy on her full face, I'm cumming, Su Yang. Her body suddenly trembled violently and her front cave gushed with yin qi, soaking the bed. Ha ha! Su Liking collapsed on the bed afterward with heavy panting. Keep going, Su Yang. I want you to ravage my butt even more, she said to him after catching her breath. Su Yang nodded, and he continued smashing her butt with his shaft drilling deeper into her tunnel. Chapter 606. Yang Qi in both holes. An entire hour has passed since Su Liking received her first experience in the butt with Su Yang. Do you want to feel even better than this? Su Yang suddenly asked her. What are you going to do? She looked at him with a lustful gaze. Su Yang then tapped the storage on his finger and retrieved a bottle of an unknown substance. That's... Su Liking's eyes widened at this familiar-looking substance. So do you want to? Su Liking immediately nodded her head with her eyes filled with desire. Su Yang then opened the bottle of euphoric oil and poured it directly between her buttocks, letting it flow like a river, before soaking his shaft in her butthole with the euphoric oil. Oh! Su Liking could immediately feel the effects of the euphoric oil with her butthole flaring up with passion, and she began moving her body back and forth. Ah! Tilde. Due to the slippery nature of the euphoric oil, it made it much easier for Su Yang to move his shaft inside Su Liking's butthole, allowing her to feel even more pleasure. And with the euphoric oil stimulating her senses of pleasure even further, Su Liking felt as though she was in heaven at this moment. Tilde. Hearing Su Liking's enticing moans, Su Yang suddenly grabbed her buttocks with firmness and began pounding her hole even more fiercely. A few minutes later, Su Yang picked up the euphoric oil again and poured the rest of the oil on her back, before rubbing it all over her body. Harder! Ravage my butt more, Su Yang. Su Liking felt as though her entire body was on fire, almost as if every cell in her body was stimulated with pleasure. After pounding her body for some more, Su Yang suddenly reached for her breasts from behind and embraced her body. Kiss me, Su Yang. Su Liking said to him while turning her head around so he can reach her lips. Su Yang began kissing her with his lower body still moving constantly. I love you, Su Yang, she said to him afterward. I love you too, Liking, he also said to her as he increased the speed of his hip movements. Sometime later, when Su Liking was reaching her limits, Su Yang released his Yang Qi directly inside her butt. Tilde. Su Liking suddenly felt a hot stream of liquid shooting up her butthole. It was a weird yet wonderful feeling. Once Su Yang stopped shooting his Yang Qi into her a few moments later, he slowly unplugged his shaft from her butthole, leaving behind a gaping hole in her butt that was as wide as his shaft with white liquid oozing out. The hole quickly began closing itself a second later, but because it had been stretched to its limit by Su Yang's thick shaft for a long time, it did not return to its regular-sized hole until many minutes later. We should do this again in the future, and we should use the euphoric oil from the beginning the next time we do this, Su Liking said to him after catching her breath. Of course. Su Yang nodded. Anyway, what about this hole, Su Yang? Su Liking suddenly pointed at her vagina and said to him, although my butthole is satisfied, this hole is still craving for your love. Su Yang chuckled at her enthusiasm and he said to her, don't push yourself too hard. I'm not, she quickly said. Okay, but let's take a short break before we continue. She nodded. Can you hug me tightly? Su Liking suddenly asked him. Hearing her request, Su Yang wasted no time wrapping his arm around her body and pulling her into his embrace. I cannot imagine a life without you anymore, Su Yang, she said to him in a low voice. You won't have to because I will always be by your side, he said while caressing her silky long hair. Sometime later, once Su Liking recovered some of her energy back, Su Yang asked her, are you ready for more? Su Liking did not immediately respond and merely grabbed his hands and placed it between her legs. What do you think? She whispered in his ear in an erotic voice. After feeling a soft and wet sensation on his hand, Su Yang stood up with a smile on his face. Seeing this, Su Liking laid her on the bed with her legs spread wide open, allowing Su Yang easy access to her paradise. However, Su Yang did not immediately penetrate her cave and proceeded to tease her petals with his mouth instead. Tilde, Su Liking him. Ned softly as Su Yang licked her slit clean. Stop teasing me and put it inside already, Su Yang. Su Liking pleaded in a cute voice when she could no longer control her urges. After licking her little sister for a few more moments, Su Yang finally lifted his head and stood up with his dragon mighty stiff. He then approached her cave with his shaft, before shoving the whole thing inside in a single movement. Tilde, Su Liking him. Ned loudly with a look of ecstasy on her beautiful face, and her eyes uncontrollably rolled back with her tongue sticking out in a vulgar manner. Seeing her sexy face, Su Yang began thrusting his shaft into her body even faster, and he continued to smash her meat for another 2 hours before he finally released his Yang Qi into her cave. Now both of my holes are filled with your Yang Qi, Su Yang, Su Liking said to him with a warm smile afterward. If you say something like that, I will want to do it even more, Su Yang laughed. If it makes you happy, I will gladly endure it until you are satisfied, she then said. However, Su Yang shook his head and said, I will never harm your body for my own satisfaction even if you are okay with it. Furthermore, your disciples are still waiting for me to finish here. Then you shouldn't make them wait so long. Go ahead and make those girls happy. I will take care of everything here. I will come to see you again in a few days, Su Yang said to her before leaving the room some minutes later. Chapter 607 Morning Wood Pagoda. After leaving Su Liking's room, Su Yang walked back down the stairs, and when he reached the first floor, all of the disciples there immediately stopped whatever they were doing to stare at him. Seeing this, Su Yang said with a smile on his face, I have spoken to your master about it. She told me to make you girls happy, so if you want to cultivate, follow me. I want to cultivate with you, sect master. Me too. A few minutes later, the disciples in the medicine hall lined up behind Su Yang and waited for him to lead them. However, Su Yang remained standing there, almost as though he was waiting for someone. The disciples behind him turned around, and they noticed disciple Zio standing in the corner alone with a hesitant expression on her face. "What's the matter, Sister Zio? Are you going to cultivate with the sect master or not?" one of the disciples asked her. Disciple Zio did not respond to her question. "Did you forget? Sister Zio was the only one who did not receive the sect master's massage back then, and she has also disliked him." Another disciple suddenly reminded her. "Oh, right, sorry for bothering you, Sister Zio." The disciples quickly gave up on trying to convince disciple Zio, as she has always reacted the opposite of everyone there when it comes to Su Yang. However, Su Yang did not want her to feel left out, so he asked her, "Do you want to come?" "Can I really come?" Disciple Zio unexpectedly responded in a low voice, and she continued, "Don't you hate me? I was the only one among the group to refuse your massage on that day, and I have always looked down on you ever since then. Unlike my fellow sisters who have supported you since the very beginning, I do not deserve to cultivate with you." The other disciples there looked at disciple Zio with speechless expressions. However, Su Yang said, "If you think I am that petty of a person to hate a woman just because she rejected me once or twice, then you are truly looking down on me. You can reject me 1,000,000 times and even curse at me every day, but I won't hate you for it." "Really?" Disciple Zio looked at him with a doubtful gaze. However, unlike before, she could look at his face without feeling any disgust. "If you don't believe my words, I can prove it to you during our cultivation," Su Yang said. After taking a moment to ponder, disciple Zio finally nodded her head, and she stood beside her fellow sister shortly later. "Let's go somewhere more spacious." Now that everyone in the medicine hall had agreed to cultivate with him, Su Yang left the building with 10 beauties following behind him, and it was almost as though he was reenacting the scene of their first meeting. "Sect Master, doesn't this feel incredibly nostalgic? When you were still an outer court disciple, we also followed you back home like this." One of the disciples suddenly said out loud, "Of course, I remember it. And you don't have to call me Sect Master. Just call me Su Yang like you used to." He said to them. "Then can I ask you something, Su Yang?" Another disciple said. "What is it? When did you and our master enter that kind of relationship?" "It began the day before I met you girls, but we didn't actually start cultivating until a week later," he answered without hesitation. "What? You and our master were already in a relationship that early on, and to think I thought it was after you became an inner court disciple." The disciples expressed profound shock after learning that Su Yang had been in an intimate relationship with their master ever since he was only an outer court disciple. Unbelievable to think the strict elder Lan would break the sect rules and cultivate with an outer court disciple. Sometime later, Su Yang stopped in front of the Morning Wood Pagoda. "Hm, the Morning Wood Pagoda. What are we doing here?" The disciples looked at him with a puzzled face. "What? We're going to cultivate here, of course," he said to them with a calm expression. "What? We're going to cultivate here." The disciples repeated his words, but in a shocked voice. But isn't this where the sect elders have their meetings? Are you sure that we can cultivate here?" one of the disciples asked him. "They used to have meetings here, but it's just another building that's not being used now," Su Yang said, and he continued, "What's there to be worried about? I am the sect master. If I say that we can cultivate here, then who can stop us? Unlike my small room before, there's plenty of space here. It's the perfect location for us to cultivate without feeling cramped." The disciples looked at him with disbelief. To think he'd use his status as the sect master to do something like this. It was simply too ridiculous. "Let's go inside," Su Yang said as he began walking the steps. The disciples looked at each other for a few seconds before following him. Once they were inside the building, Su Yang continued to climb the stairs until they were all the way on the highest floor, the fourth floor. Although the fourth floor was not as spacious as the previous 3 floors, it was much cleaner and even had nice window views in all 4 directions. "Where are the beds, Su Yang? Don't tell me we're going to cultivate on this hard surface." Hearing the disciples' concern, Su Yang tapped his storage ring and pulled out 4 identical mattresses and laid them on the floor together, creating a massive bed out of thin air. Once again, the disciples found themselves speechless by Su Yang's unorthodox methods. Sometime later, one of the disciples asked him, "Who do you want to cultivate with first, Su Yang? Or should we go in the same order as before?" Chapter 608, Pleasuring 6 at once. "There's no need to go one at a time because I can satisfy 3 of you at once," Su Yang said to them with a confident smile. "3 of us at a time." The disciples exchanged dazed looks with each other. Sometime later, after the disciples decided who would go first, 3 of them approached Su Yang, who was calmly standing on the bed he made. "Please take care of us, Su Yang." The disciples bowed to him with respect before they loosened their robes. Su Yang nodded and also removed his clothes, showing them his perfect body and the mighty beast between his legs. "Oh my!" The disciples gasped with their hands covering their mouths from shock, as they have never seen such a beastly yet beautiful sword before. "As expected of you, Su Yang. Not only are your hands big, but even your little brother is quite enormous." The 3 disciples couldn't wait to touch Su Yang's rod, and they approached him with hungry expressions. Meanwhile, the other 7 disciples watched them in the background with their mouths wet with saliva and their eyes wide open. A few moments later, all 3 disciples began licking Su Yang's thick shaft simultaneously. "Slow down, it won't go anywhere." Su Yang chuckled after seeing their hasty movements, and he stood still with his hands clasped behind his back, looking like a hero on the battlefield. However, instead of facing warriors, he had 3 beautiful young ladies fighting for the sword between his legs. Many minutes later, once all 3 disciples had a chance to suck on his shaft, Su Yang said to them, "Line up beside each other and get on all 4. The disciples nodded their heads before kneeling on the bed in the doggy position beside each other, looking like 3 dogs getting ready for a walk. Su Yang then walked behind the disciple in the middle, and since her lower cave was already soaking wet, he did not bother with the foreplay and directly shoved his thick shaft into her hole. "Ah!" the disciple M.O.A. Ned loudly when she felt his massive divine rod spreading her cave to its limits. "What about us, Su Yang?" The 2 disciples beside her asked him with a lustful expression. "Don't worry, it'll be your turn later. For now I'll satisfy you with my hands," said Su Yang as he reached for their flowers with his free hands. Ahan. Now that he was fully occupied, Su Yang began moving his hips and hands simultaneously, pleasuring all 3 disciples before him at once. Ahan. The 3 disciples M.O.A. Ned together as Su Yang satisfied their holes. A few minutes later, Su Yang released his liquid into the disciple in the middle, filling her stomach with hot yang qi. Once the disciple in the middle had her filling, Su Yang shoved his shaft into another disciple, and he continued to satisfy the other 2 with his hands. Su Yang proceeded to satisfy the 3 disciples in this manner until they were completely exhausted and satisfied. "That was amazing, Su Yang. It's on another level compared to your massages. I would be willing to pay even 1,000 premium points if you'd offered this kind of service before." Sometime later, Su Yang turned to look at the other 7 disciples and said to them, "Which of you want to go next?" Immediately, 6 of them stood up at the same time, with only disciple Zio being the only one who didn't stand up. "Ha, that's fine. I will satisfy all of you at once." Su Yang laughed. And without hesitation, The six sisters removed their clothes and tossed them to the side before rushing onto the bed. Su Yang then laid his back on the bed and said, "I can satisfy one person with each of my limbs, one person with my mouth, and one more with my sword. You can even satisfy people with your feet." The girls looked at him with wide eyes. "See for yourself what I can do with my feet," he said with a confident expression. Sometime later, Su Yang began pleasuring the six girls simultaneously with his entire body. There were two girls being pleasured by his hands, another two by his feet, one by his tongue, and the last one by his shaft. It was an absurd scene that shocked disciple Zio to her core, as she has never seen anything this ridiculous before. Ah tilde, ah, an tilde, tilde. The room was filled with the moaning of six disciples, sounding as though there was a group of birds singing together. 2 hours later, when all six disciples laid on the bed with exhausted looks and gasping for air, Su Yang looked at disciple Zio, who had been silently watching this entire time. "You're the only one left," he said to her. Disciple Zio nodded, and she began making her way to him with small and slow steps. Once she was beside the bed, she loosened her robes, revealing her small and slender body to him. Su Yang then grabbed her hand and pulled her into his embrace. "Thank you, Su Yang, for accepting me," she said to him in a low voice. "I should be thanking you for finally trusting me," he said. "Please take care of me." "I will, but since you never got the chance to experience my massage, why don't we start with that first?" "Okay," she nodded with anticipation. Disciple Zio laid on the bed with her back facing the ceiling. A few moments later, Su Yang began rubbing her back with his hands. "Ah tilde," disciple Zio quickly Ned. The massage had barely begun, and she was already shocked speechless by how amazing it felt. "I can't believe I had refused something as amazing as this. No wonder why the others are always all over him. I am such a fool," she cried inwardly as Su Yang continued to arouse her body with his skillful techniques. Chapter 609. Did you girls have fun? And tilde, disciple Zio completely indulged herself in the sensation of pleasure as Su Yang rubbed all over her body with his large hands. Her lower cave oozed with yin qi, and her body trembled constantly. When Su Yang reached her legs, he kneaded her soft thighs as though they were dough, and he would often accidentally brush against the entrance of her cave with the tip of his fingers, causing even more yin qi to leak from her cave. Ah tilde. Disciple Zio's moaning was so passionate that it had aroused the disciples that were still exhausted from their session with Su Yang. "Please, stick it inside my pussy, Su Yang. I can't endure this burning sensation any longer, I'll go crazy." Disciple Zio begged him in a desperate voice. Su Yang nodded, and after Disciple Zio flipped her body, he rubbed his enormous shaft on her slit before piercing her tight cave. Ah tilde. Feeling her inner walls being torn apart by Su Yang's massive shaft, Disciple Zio Ned loudly. Meanwhile, Su Yang continuously plunged his rod into her hole, sending shocking sensations across her entire body. Tilde. The other disciples watched as Su Yang intensely pounded their junior sister Zio for many minutes without any breaks, their eyes wide with surprise, as they didn't expect her to endure his techniques for so long. Wow. Junior sister Zio is actually more impressive than us. What a surprise! To think she'd been hiding her talent all along. After another 10 minutes of intense cultivation, when disciple Zio could no longer endure the pleasure, Su Yang released enough yang qi to fill a small bucket into her cave. Tilde. It's so hot tilde, disciple Zio Ned loudly, feeling as though her inner walls were on fire. Su Yang then removed his shaft from her hole, allowing the yang qi inside her cave to leak down her slit like a small river. And just as the disciples thought that they were done, they noticed the dragon between his legs that was still as stiff as a rock. "Su Yang, just how much stamina do you have? You just cultivated with 10 of us without taking a single break, yet you are still as energetic as when we first started," they said to him with awe in their voice. "Of course, I would be energetic. I am surrounded by so many beauties after all." The disciples exchanged dazed gazes with each other before laughing at his words together. "If you say something like that, we will have no choice but to keep you accompanied for a little bit longer, right, fellow sisters?" "That's right, Su Yang. But will you be able to handle another round with us?" Su Yang laughed at their words and said, "Only one round. You girls are underestimating me too much. I can handle even 10 rounds with you girls and not break a sweat." "10 rounds. Now you are talking, Su Yang. Then what are we waiting for? Let's start our second round." The disciples quickly surrounded him and Su Yang began cultivating with them again. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, after another 3 hours of intense cultivation, 8 out of the 10 disciples were knocked unconscious from experiencing too much pleasure. 4 rounds, huh? Not even half of the goal. Su Yang smiled afterward. "Your stamina is simply too monstrous, Su Yang. I feel like you won't be satisfied even if there's 100 of us," said disciple Zio. "I won't deny that," he chuckled. Sometime later he said to her, "I'm going to leave first. If you girls ever want to cultivate again, you know where to find me." "Thank you again, Su Yang, for today." Disciple Zio bowed to him. "Don't even mention it." 2 hours later the disciples began waking up. "When did I fall asleep? Where did Su Yang go? Don't tell me it was all a dream." The disciples began panicking when they woke up without Su Yang by their side, wondering if they were only dreaming just now. "Calm down, fellow sisters. Su Yang left early since you girls were completely knocked out in the middle of our cultivation." Disciple Zio said to them, "Oh, so we weren't dreaming. I can't believe we actually got to cultivate with Su Yang despite what happened. I feel blessed. I had given up all hope when we left the sect, but alas, thank the heavens that Su Yang is who he is." "I cannot agree more, Sister Jia. Anyway, let's clean up and return to the medicine hall. I think we've been gone for too long." Sometime later, when the disciples returned to the medicine hall, Su Liking was already downstairs and ready to greet them. "Master, we apologize for disappearing for so long." Su Yang was much more energetic than we could have ever imagined. The disciples apologized to her. However, Su Liking shook her head and asked them with a smile on her face, "I only care about one thing right now, and that is whether you girls had fun or not." "We had fun, Master." They quickly nodded their heads. "Then were you satisfied with the experience?" "Very," they nodded again. "Then I will forgive you for returning so late," Su Liking said, and she continued, "Anyway, I will finish everyone's work today by myself. You can all go home and rest some more." Really? You don't have to do that much for us, Master." Su Liking then asked them, "Look at yourselves. How can you work when you cannot even stand still without shaking? If I say that I will handle it, then I will do so." Thank you, Master. We will work twice as hard when we return tomorrow." They bowed to her. "Of course you will," Su Liking said. Once the disciples left the medicine hall again, Su Liking sat down with an exhausted look on her face. "I guess I will have to close the medicine hall early today. I won't be able to concentrate on work with my butt in such a condition anyway." She sighed. Chapter 610. The Fang sisters. After leaving the medicine hall, Su Yang walked back to the Yin-Yang pavilion, passing the training grounds on the way there. There were at least a dozen disciples from the cultivation division currently practicing their techniques in the training grounds, and near the edge of this place was a beautiful young lady silently practicing by herself. "Ha!" Fang Zioru punched the empty space before her, creating a powerful shock wave that shook the air. However, because it was such a powerful shock wave, it distracted the other disciples in the training ground despite being on the other side of the place. "Senior apprentice Sister Fang is truly on another level," sighed one of the disciples there. "What did you expect from someone who belongs to one of the 4 great families? It's very distracting with her here. I cannot practice properly when there's an earthquake occurring every 3 seconds, but it's not as though we can tell her to stop practicing. A few moments later, they notice Su Yang's figure approaching them in the distance. Disciple greets the sect master. The disciples there immediately stop their training to greet him. "Don't mind me, continue your training," Su Yang said to them. "Yes, sect master." The disciples then continued their training, but their eyes remained on Su Yang's figure as they were curious about his intentions for coming here. Su Yang, Fang Xiaoru also stopped training after seeing his approaching figure. "I see that you have improved significantly since I gave you the full technique," he said to her with a smile. "Yes. I have been training non-stop with the technique ever since then," she nodded with a proud expression. "Let me see how much you have truly progressed. Hit me with everything you've got like the last time," he suddenly said to her. Fang Xiaoru nodded and turned to face him with a serious expression. "Ha!" After a moment of silence, Fang Xiaoru extended her palm towards Su Yang with all of her strength behind it. Boom! Su Yang raised his hand to block it, but unlike previously, Fang Xiaoru had managed to push him back slightly with the technique. "Not bad." He nodded afterward, feeling a slight numbing sensation on his hands. "Well, if you need any advice, you know where to find me. And let me create a formation for you so that you won't distract the other disciples," Su Yang said before creating a large formation beside her. "The formation will absorb all of your blows. This way you can use all of your strength without worrying about bothering the others." "Thank you, Su Yang," she quickly bowed to him. "Anyway, you can continue practicing for now." "Wait a second," she suddenly stopped him. "What else do you need?" Fang Xiaoru showed a bashful expression before speaking in a low voice. "Do you think I can cultivate with you again?" Su Yang immediately smiled and said, "Of course. When do you want to do it?" "Are you available now?" she asked him. "Certainly." He nodded. "Then let's head to my living quarters," Fang Xiaoru said as she began walking away. Sometime later, when they reached Fang Xiaoru's house, a familiar voice resounded not very far in the distance. Xiaoru and Su Yang, Fang Zhelin, who was just returning from walking Xiao by, called out to them after seeing them together. "Elder sister." Fang Xiaoru's face reddened even further after seeing her face. "It's been a while, Xiao Bai," Su Yang said after seeing the massive white ball of bluff standing beside Fang Zhelin. "Ruwar." Xiao Bai released a low roar before running to Su Yang and covering his face with her saliva. "What are you two doing together?" Fang Zhelin approached them and asked. "Well," Fang Xiaoru immediately flustered at her questioning. However, Su Yang responded with a calm expression. "We're going to cultivate." "Oh," Fang Zhelin mumbled with a slightly dazed face. "Do you want to join us?" Su Yang suddenly asked her in a teasing voice, dumbfounding the sisters. Fang Zhenlin turned to look at her little sister as she didn't want to intrude on their time together. "I'm only joking with you. If you want to cultivate with me, I can do it afterward," Su Yang then said. However, Fang Xiaoru's voice resounded immediately afterward. "I don't mind." Fang Zhelin looked at her with wide eyes filled with surprise. "I said I don't mind having you join us, elder sister," she quickly repeated. Are you sure?" Fang Zhelin asked her with a worried frown. Although she doesn't mind sharing Su Yang during cultivation as she has done it before already, the person she would be sharing him with this time is her own sister. "Do you mind, Su Yang?" Fang Xiaoru asked him. "Why would I? Although it was only a joke at first, I was the one who suggested it," he said. "You heard him, elder sister. I also don't mind," Fang Xiaoru said to her afterward. Fang Zhelin nodded and then she said, "Let me bring Xiao Bai back home first. You can start without me." Sometime later, Fang Zhelin returned to Fang Xiaoru's house, and by the time she returned, Fang Xiaoru already had her warm-up with Su Yang. "You're finally here, elder sister," Fang Xiaoru said to her with a full expression on her beautiful face as she laid on the bed with her naked body twitching. There was even a little yin qi that could still be seen squirting from her lower lips. Fang Zhelin was rendered speechless after seeing Fang Xiaoru's vulgar expression for the first time in her life. A few moments later, once Fang Zhelin snapped out of her daze, she removed her clothes and got onto the bed with Su Yang and Fang Xiaoru. "Let's get your body ready, too," Su Yang said to her with a smile on his face. Fang Zhelin nodded, and she approached him the next moment before giving him a passionate kiss on the lips. Chapter 611. The Sisters' Teamwork. Tilde Fang Zhelin Oa Ned softly as Su Yang nibbled on her breasts and teased her lower lips with his hands at the same time. "I'm Cumming Su Yang." Fang Zhelin cried out loud before her body trembled and her cave gushed with yin qi, soaking his hands with her love juice. "Let me pleasure you now." Fang Zhelin wasted no time reaching for Su Yang's stiff shaft afterward. "MMM. MMMMM." Fang Zhelin sucked on his rod like an expert, filling the room with erotic noises. A few moments later, when Fang Zhelin noticed that Fang Xiaoru was staring at her with an envious gaze, Fang Zhelin said, "Let's pleasure him together." Fang Xiaoru immediately nodded her head, and she began licking Su Yang's shaft together with Fang Zhelin, before taking turns putting it inside their mouth. MMM. MMMMM. While Fang Xiaoru sucked on Su Yang's shaft to the best of her abilities, Fang Zhelin worked on his treasured jewels underneath with her mouth and hands, making Su Yang feel as though he'd entered heaven. Sometime later, Fang Zhelin said, "Let me kiss you with this mouth, too." She then began rubbing her lower lips up and down his stiff shaft, feeling as though she was grinding against a metal rod. "Me too." Fang Xiaoru followed Fang Zhelin's position and movements and also began rubbing Su Yang's shaft with her lower lips. At this moment, Su Yang's shaft was being sandwiched by the Fang sister with their lower lips kissing his rod simultaneously. A few moments later, the Fang sisters could feel Su Yang's shaft quickly heating up, before it suddenly exploded with his yang qi shooting high into the air and raining down on the sisters, almost like a volcano's eruption. "It's so hot," Fang Xiaoru said, feeling as though she just took a shower in hot yang qi. "Let me clean it up for you, Xiaoru." Fang Zhelin suddenly approached her and began licking the yang qi sticking onto her body, instantly dumbfounding her. Once Fang Xiaoru was clean, Fang Zhelin began licking herself. However, Fang Xiaoru quickly said to her, "Since you helped me, allow me to also help you, elder sister." Thus, Fang Xiaoru began licking the yang qi off Fang Zhelin's body. Of course, Su Yang silently watched them lick each other with an entertained smile on his face. When the Fang sisters were finished cleaning each other, Fang Zhelin said, "Who do you want to cultivate with first, Su Yang?" "I will cultivate with both of you at the same time," he said, baffling them. How are you going to do that?" Fang Xiaoru asked him. "It's simple, the two of you will embrace each other from the front and make a sandwich, and I will insert my thing right between your flowers." Su Yang explained it to them. "As expected of you, Su Yang, I am always learning new things from you," Fang Zhelin said with a smile on her face. She then looked at Fang Xiaoru and said to her, "Since you have a smaller body, I will be on the bottom." Fang Xiaoru nodded and proceeded to lay her chest on top of Fang Zhelin's chest, essentially giving her a hug. "This is actually more embarrassing than I'd imagined," Fang Zhelin thought to herself with a slightly red face. Not even in her wildest dream would she imagine herself hugging her little sister while they were both naked. Once the Fang sisters were in position with their bottom lips kissing each other, Su Yang approached them and inserted his thick sausage directly between their lower lips, creating a sandwich with the Fang sisters' lips. Tilde. The Fang sisters Oa Ned simultaneously as Su Yang's shaft rubbed against their flower and their pink pearl, and despite no real penetration, they still felt as though they were being fucked by him. A few minutes later, Su Yang suddenly inserted his thick shaft into Fang Zhelan's cave, before releasing his sauce into her narrow hole. Ah tilde. Fang Zhelan did not expect the sudden penetration and filling and Ned loudly. However, Su Yang did not empty all of his yang qi into Fang Zhelan and quickly switched to Fang Xiaoru's hole midway before he continued releasing his yang qi. Tilde. Fang Xiaoru also Ned loudly as she felt her hole being filled up quickly. After he finished emptying his load into Fang Xiaoru, Su Yang unplugged his shaft from her hole. His yang qi then flows out from her hole and onto Fang Zhelan's lower lips, creating a waterfall made of yang qi. That was amazing, Fang Xiaoru said as she laid on Fang Zhelan's chest with a blissful face. You can't fall asleep yet, Xiaoru. We've only just begun. Fang Zhelan said to her with a smile. We can continue while she rests for a bit, Su Yang said to her. Fang Zhelan nodded and laid Fang Xiaoru near the end of the bed so she could move more freely. And while Fang Xiaoru recovers her stamina, Su Yang and Fang Zhelan begin their second round of cultivation. Tilde. Tilde Fang Zhelan Ned in a sexy voice as Su Yang pounded her flour with his meat. Meanwhile, Fang Xiaoru watched their cultivation with an intense gaze. The way elder sister moves her body feels so natural. It's so much better than my stiff movements. She sighed inwardly after realizing the difference in their movements and abilities. Tilde. Fang Zhelan continued to cultivate with Su Yang for many minutes, and by the time Fang Xiaoru recovered enough stamina to continue, it was time for Fang Zhelan to rest, allowing Fang Xiaoru to take her place. Tilde. Su Yang proceeded to cultivate with the Fang sisters, alternating between Fang Zhelan and Fang Xiaoru every 10 minutes, and they would continue with this rotation until both of the sisters could no longer move from exhaustion. At the end of their cultivation, Su Yang released his yang qi into Fang Zhelan 21 times, whilst Fang Xiaoru could only handle 11 rounds before falling unconscious. Chapter 612, Su Yang's Plans. Thank you for today, Su Yang. I feel like I've gotten even closer to my sister because of our cultivation. Fang Zhelan said to him afterward. Don't even mention it, and if you ever feel like cultivating together again, just let me know, he said with a smile. Sometime later, Su Yang left the place and returned to the yin-yang pavilion. Elder sister, where's Su Yang? Fang Xiaoru woke up minutes after Su Yang left. He already left, she said. I see, Fang Xiaoru nodded. The atmosphere quickly became awkwardly silent for the next few moments, with neither of them knowing what to say in this situation. Elder sister. Fang Xiaoru suddenly broke the silence and looked at her with a serious expression. Can you teach me more about dual cultivation? I want to be able to pleasure Su Yang with my body just like you, elder sister. Although she was dazed at first, Fang Zhelan eventually nodded her head and said with a gentle smile on her face, What would you like to know? I will teach you everything I know. Fang Xiaoru's face immediately brightened and she said, I want to learn how to move my body elegantly just like you, elder sister. I also want to improve my endurance so that I can last longer during our sessions. You will naturally improve your endurance and stamina as you cultivate more with Su Yang. There are other methods to improve your endurance, but I believe that cultivating with Su Yang is the most effective method because of how intense his techniques are, Fang Zhelan explained to her. As for my movement techniques, while I have never taught anyone before, I will try my best to teach it to you. Thank you, elder sister. Fang Xiaoru nodded with enthusiasm. Let's do our best to please Su Yang next time too, said Fang Zhelan with a smile on her face. Meanwhile, after returning to the yin-yang pavilion, Tang Lingxi said to him, How many girls did you cultivate with today? 10, 20, 30, 100. Su Yang merely smiled and said, I have long discarded the habit of counting each and every single one of my cultivations. Regardless, you sure are living the life right now, darling. What do you mean? Su Yang raised his eyebrows at her words. Think about it. You are currently living every single day free of worries, simply cultivating with young and pretty girls to your heart's content. If you wanted to, you can pretty much cultivate with anybody you want in this world without worrying about offending any immortal or God. And even if you did offend someone, you can simply take care of them with your own strength, as you are an existence that cannot be restricted by this world's standard. However, in the divine heavens, it is the complete opposite, as you have enemies in almost every city and island that exists, and some of them are so powerful that even you cannot deal with them without some assistance. Have you ever thought about staying in this world and starting a new family, a new life here? Tang Lingxi asked him with a serious face. Has it ever crossed my mind? Of course. However, I cannot simply abandon all of my responsibilities there to enjoy a new life by myself. Even if it may be dangerous and a single wrong step could end my life, I must return to the divine heavens and make everything right. I cannot abandon you or anybody for that matter, even at the cost of my own life, he said. What do you plan on doing after you return? Surely you must have something in mind. Tang Lingxi then asked him. I am going to settle down, he calmly responded a moment later. Excuse me. Tang Lingxi raised her eyebrows in a puzzled manner. Su Yang then walked to the window and stared at the Profound Blossom Sect with a profound gaze and atmosphere around him. After experiencing this carefree life, I think I have finally found what I really want in my life, he said sometime later. My life lost its meaning the same moment I lost my first wife. I didn't know what to do after her death, so I wandered the world aimlessly, hoping to find something that could fill the void in my heart. One thing led to another, and I learned the existence of dual cultivation. Although it did not fully restore my feelings, it was enough to temporarily fill the hole in my heart, and I continued to hone my dual cultivation skills from that point forth, regardless of the trouble I may encounter by doing so. Eventually, just like I'd with the sword, I reached the pinnacle of dual cultivation, and I'd made countless enemies and companions in the process. In my previous life, it was constant drama and action, and I never really got the chance to truly settle in one place and relax with my companions, and even when I did, it was only for a short period. However, after being reincarnated into this world and living a relatively carefree life, I have learned something, or should I say I have gained something new. After a moment of silence, Su Yang continued to speak. I want a home where I can spend the rest of my life with everyone I love. I want to create a real family in that place, a paradise that's free of worries and drama. However, in order to do something like that, I must get rid of any threat that might hinder or prevent my dreams. Su Yang then turned to look at Tang Lingxi and said in a cold voice, Therefore, I am going to get rid of my problems once and for all. I have been running away for far too long. The 10 families, the 4 supreme clan, the heavenly emperor, it does not matter who they are. If they are going to threaten my plan, I will erase them all. However, in order to do that, I will need your help. A paradise where the others and I can spend every day with you, huh? A wide smile appeared on Tang Lingxi's face, and she approached him with a narrowed gaze. What do you need me, the Usra God clan, to do? She asked him a moment later. I will let you know when the time comes, he said, and he continued. My priority right now is to return to the divine heaven safely. Once I return, I will start the preparations. Hearing his words, Tang Lingxi nodded. So the god of pleasure with enough connections and resources to move the entire world will finally be using his powers, huh? I cannot wait to see how the divine heavens will react once they learn of this. Tang Lingxi thought to herself with an impatient smile on her face. Su Yang continued to stare outside the window at the Profound Blossom Sect. Wait for me, everyone. Once I return, I will create a home, a paradise where we can love and embrace each other without a care in the world for the rest of our lives, just like I'd promised. Chapter 613. Divine Nature Garden. 2 weeks have passed since Su Yang cultivated with the Fang sisters and shared his future plans with Tang Lingxi. Nothing notable happened during this time, and Su Yang would continue to spend each day either cultivating with the disciples or giving lectures to the other disciples. It's about time I check on those 3 cute alchemy disciples of mine, Su Yang said to Tang Lingxi before leaving the Profound Blossom Sect. If I recall correctly, the Divine Nature Garden should be around this area. Su Yang flew around the place on the flying ship until he could see their sect. Sometime later, he arrived at the Divine Nature Garden, one of the few sects in the Eastern continent that specialized in medicine and alchemy. As Su Yang approached the sect, he could smell a strong medicine aroma in the air that instantly relaxed his mind. It was so strong, in fact, that if someone that didn't know anything about their sect were to walk by this place, they would easily realize the type of sect his place was. You there with a suspicious appearance? Stop right there. The guards by the entrance shouted at Su Yang, who was in his disguise after seeing his approaching figure. Identify yourself. And what are you doing at our Divine Nature Garden? They continued to speak after Su Yang stopped approaching them. I am here for the sect master and his disciple Luo Yixiao. Bring them out there, Su Yang said to them. Ha, who do you think you are? Neither the sect master nor the young lady is someone you can meet with just because you asked. Unless you have an appointment with them, you can scram, the guard said to him. Su Yang sighed inwardly before saying, I have already told them that I would be coming around this time. Did they not mention this to you? Regardless, I don't have the time to play games with you. If you won't tell them to come out, I will go in there myself. The audacity. Where do you think you are? This is the Divine Nature Garden, where the majority of the top pills in the Eastern continent originate from. We even have the Zai family's backing. Unless you don't treasure your life, you better get the hell out of here. If you continue to bother us, losing your life will be the least of your worries. The guards remained adamant about chasing him away. Listen here, your identity no longer matters anymore. You are not welcomed here. This is our last warning for you. Scram. After being interrupted by the guard before he can even introduce himself, Su Yang sighed out loud. If you won't even listen to me, I won't waste my breath anymore. He has given up on trying to convince them and began approaching the sect once again. You dare! The guards immediately pointed their weapons at him with their true spirit realm cultivation bases coursing through their bodies. However, pap. Su Yang used the 9 astral steps to instantly get in front of the guards before sending them flying with a slap on their faces. You are lucky that my disciple lives here, or else I would have killed you without any hesitation, Su Yang said to them as he entered the sect. After Su Yang entered the sect, one of the guards outside retrieved a red pill from his pocket and lit it on fire before tossing it into the air. Boom! The pill exploded into a red cloud once it reached the peak, immediately alerting the disciples and sect elders within the sect. It's a red warning from the guards outside. We are being attacked. F-U-C-K. Of all days, why must this happen when the sect master is in closed cultivation? Nearly every sect elder in the sect began rushing towards the front of the sect where the entrance was located, whilst the disciples gathered in the center of the sect as they'd practiced hundreds of times in case of such situations. Haya, why must they make this even more complicated? Su Yang sighed inwardly after being surrounded by the sect elders. Who the hell are you? And why are you attacking this place? Although the sect elders were surprised to see that it was only a single individual attacking their entire sect, they didn't dare to underestimate Su Yang, who was emitting a formidable aura that made them feel powerless. My surname is Zio, and I am here to pick up Luo Yixiao, my disciple, Su Yang said to them. Luo Yixiao's master, but her master is. The sect elders quickly realized the situation, but they were still doubtful. How do we know that you're the real person and not some impersonator trying to kidnap Luo Yixiao? After all, you did force your way into this place. One of the sect elders said to him. You'll know the truth once you bring your sect master or even Luo Yixiao herself here. Su Yang said. That's going to be quite difficult, as Luo Yixiao has not appeared for almost a month now, and only the sect master knows of her location. However, the sect master is also unavailable since he's in closed cultivation right now. The sect elder explained the situation to him. That's quite problematic indeed. Su Yang nodded. A few moments later, he continued speaking. Then bring a cauldron to me. I'll use my alchemy skills to prove my identity. You want to use alchemy to prove your identity? The sect elders exchanged perplexed gazes, as they have never experienced such a weird situation before. However, if this intruder really turns out to be the real deal, they would be able to experience for themselves his otherworldly alchemy abilities that were said to have shocked even the top alchemy experts in this world, including their own sect master. Okay, we'll let you concoct a pill to prove your identity. In midst of the deafening silence, an old man stepped forward and said loudly, Head Elder. The sect elders were surprised to see this person, who was only second to the sect master, agree to Su Yang's suggestion. Chapter 614. The real deal. After the head elder agreed to let Su Yang concoct a pill to prove his identity, they brought him to the lecture stage, where the sect elders usually go to demonstrate their alchemy abilities in public so the other disciples can watch and learn from them. This is quite the audience. Su Yang said as he looked around the spectators' seats that were already filled to the brim with disciples and sect elders, almost as though every disciple in this sect was present. It would be a great honor if they could witness the alchemy master's alchemy skills. After all, the head elder said to him, Does that mean you consider me as the real one? If that's the case, why should I do this anymore? Su Yang asked him with a calm smile behind his mask. The head elder showed him a sly smile and said, It would only be an honor if you were the real deal, and without seeing your abilities, even I cannot say for sure that you're the real alchemy master who discovered the Earth Advancement pills and the Heaven Transcendence pills. Is that so? Su Yang could instantly see through the head elder's intentions, but he pretended to be ignorant since it wouldn't harm him in any way to show their disciples some of his alchemy skills. Sometime later, before thousands of gazes, Su Yang stepped onto the stage and stood before the cauldron they had prepared for him. I don't have the ingredients to concoct an Earth Advancement pill or the Heaven Transcendence pill right now, so I will concoct any pill you want, Su Yang said to them. Then I would like you to concoct the Heaven Lotus pill, a heaven-grade pill that even the sect master cannot concoct consistently. Head elder said to him before ordering someone to bring them the ingredients. A few minutes later, the head elder showed the pill and ingredients to Su Yang before speaking. If you are truly the alchemy master from the holy central continent, then you should be able to concoct the Heaven Lotus pill without the recipe, right? Su Yang looked at the Heaven Lotus pill for a moment before glancing at the ingredients by his side. A smile then surfaced on his face and he said, You are missing one ingredient that's required for this pill. What? A surprised expression appeared on the head elder's face, and he immediately looked at the ingredients closely this time. He's right, there really is one ingredient missing, and while it's not the most important ingredient for the pill, missing it will make it impossible to concoct the pill. How is this possible? Can he really tell the recipe just by looking at the pill? Could it be that he'd concocted this pill before? No, that's not possible, as the Heaven Lotus pill was only discovered last year by the sect master, and it hasn't even been released to the public yet. The head elder was profoundly shocked inwardly. Perhaps this man is truly the real deal. A moment later, the head elder slapped the individual who brought the ingredients and shouted at him angrily. Did you purposefully forget one of the ingredients so that he would be unable to prove his identity? Do you have no honor? How are you going to be responsible if he turns out to be the real deal? This disciple wouldn't dare. It was truly a mistake and coincidence that I forgot one of the ingredients. The person cried with an apologetic expression. I deeply apologize for this mishap. It was never our intention to rig the test. I hope you can forgive us. The head elder lowered his head to Su Yang, but mostly because he already knew in his heart that Su Yang was the real deal. Since you are so polite, I will consider this mishap as though it's part of the test, Su Yang said. Thank you, head elder said. Meanwhile, the other disciples and sect elders were dumbfounded when they saw the head elder lower his head to Su Yang. Does this mean the head elder already recognizes him as the real alchemy master? Anyway, bring the last ingredient so I can begin, Su Yang then said. Right away. The head elder made the individual who screwed up fetch the final ingredient. Sometime later, once all of the ingredients were gathered, Su Yang began concocting the pill. What fierce yet docile flames! I have never seen such wonderful flame control before. Head elder and the other disciples gasped in awe when they saw how Su Yang flawlessly controlled the flames around the cauldron. And just by looking at Su Yang's control over his alchemy flames, the disciples there already began recognizing him as the real deal. Once the cauldron was heated to the perfect temperature, Su Yang grabbed the ingredients beside him and tossed all of them into the cauldron, shocking the spectators. It's just like the rumors. He actually tossed all of the ingredients into the cauldron without any hesitation. He's the real deal. One major point the people made when speaking about the alchemy master from the holy central continent was his godlike ability to purify multiple ingredients at once, and after witnessing it for themselves, it was truly as shocking and jaw-dropping as the rumors made it sound. A few minutes later, Su Yang retrieved the flame around the cauldron and opened the lid, and black smoke rushed out the next moment. What? Did he burn the pill? The spectators were dumbfounded to see the black smoke, as they only appear when someone burns a pill. However, when Su Yang retrieved a pure white pill from the cauldron a moment later, the spectators exploded with excitement and admiration. The pill was not burned. He actually succeeded concocting the pill on his first try, and it had only taken him a few minutes. Compared to the sect master, who would need an entire day to concoct the pill with less than 10% chance of success, the disparity is simply too vast, like heaven and earth. He's the real deal, the real alchemy master from the holy central continent. Thank you for listening to the story on KevinAudio.com, Chapter 615. Only a slight inconvenience, may I take a look at the heaven lotus pill? The head elder asked him in a shaky voice, and his gaze filled with a feeling of yearning. Go ahead, you can even keep it, Su Yang said as he tossed the heaven lotus pill at him in a carefree manner, treating it as though it was nothing of value. Ah! The head elder hastily went to catch the pill in the air with a horrified expression on his face, feeling as though his heart was going to burst from shock. Thank heavens I caught it. The head elder sighed in relief afterward, yet his hands were still trembling as though he was having a seizure. Now that I have demonstrated my abilities, do you still doubt my identity? Su Yang asked him a moment later. This junior apologizes for doubting the senior. I will immediately notify the sect master of your arrival, the head elder said before disappearing from the place shortly later. The disciples and other sect elders stared at Su Yang with gazes of admiration and respect. I can't believe that I just got to witness Senior Zio's abilities with my very own eyes. Right. I have been dreaming of this exact moment ever since I heard of his capabilities. To think my dream would come true so quickly. This is all thanks to Senior Apprentice Sister Luo. If not for her who managed to pass the exam and become his disciple, he wouldn't even be here right now. Meanwhile, inside the sect master's home, the head elder knocked on the doors loudly. "Sect master, this is an emergency. Please come out." Sometime later, Senior Zheng opened the door with his face twisted in anger. "You imbecile! Did I not warn you to not bother me no matter what? Because of you, I accidentally burned the heaven lotus pill again." The head elder then said with a frown on his face, "You also told me to tell you if Senior Zio visits our sect no matter what you are doing." "What? Senior Zio is here?" Senior Zheng's eyes widened with surprise and the anger on his face immediately went away. "Why didn't you say that first?" "Because you never gave me the chance to. Anyway, look at this." The head elder then showed the flawless quality heaven lotus pill to Senior Zheng. "Heavens, how on earth?" Senior Zheng picked up the pill with trembling hands. "Senior Zio concocted it," head elder said. Why would he?" "Well, this is what happened." The head elder proceeded to explain the situation to Senior Zheng. After learning everything from the head elder, Senior Zheng's face flushed with anger again. "Why, you damn idiots! How dare you treat the senior as though he's some kind of intruder, even making him take a test to prove his identity? How are you going to be responsible if he decides to discard my disciple because of this?" Senior Zheng roared. He seemed cool with it, so there shouldn't be a problem." The head elder hastily said, as he did not have any excuses to make. "Whatever, I will deal with you idiots once I get back." "Wait a second, sect master. What about the heaven lotus pill? The senior said I can have it." The head elder said to him in a panicked voice. "It's confiscated for now." "In no way." Senior Zheng then disappeared before the head elder could even begin to complain. He then went to get Luo Wuxia, who was also doing closed cultivation within an isolated area of that sect. "Wuxia, come out. Senior Zio is here to pick you up," Senior Zheng shouted in front of a small building. A few moments later, Luo Wuxia opened the door and said, "Has it already been a month? Time sure flies when I am studying the techniques the master gave me." Sometime later, Luo Wuxia and Senior Zheng arrived at the lecture stage. "Look, it's the sect master and senior apprentice sister Luo." The disciples and sect elders quickly stopped their chattering and bowed to them after noticing their presence. However, the two of them ignored everything there and went straight to Su Yang. "Disciple Luo greets master." Luo Wuxia bowed to him. "This junior greets senior." Even Senior Zheng bowed to him without hesitation despite being watched by nearly every disciple in the sect. "You're finally here. It was quite the hassle, you know," Su Yang said to them in a calm voice. Hearing this, Senior Zheng immediately kowtowed on the floor and said, "What happened today is entirely my fault. If only I'd lectured my disciples properly. Please. I swear this won't happen ever again. If that's not enough, allow me to bear all of the responsibilities in your anger." However, Su Yang merely shook his head and said, "It was only a slight inconvenience for me, that's all. I'm not really angry. Anyway, I have spent enough time here and I still need to pick up the other two." He then turned to look at Luo Wuxia and asked her, "Are you ready to leave?" "Yes, master," she nodded. "Good luck, Wuxia. Remember to not cause any trouble for the senior," Senior Zheng said to her with a parting smile, looking as though he was sending his daughter off to another family. "What are you talking about? You are also coming with us," Su Yang suddenly said, dumbfounding him. Me." He pointed at himself with a dazed face. "Teaching an additional person won't make much of a difference. Though I won't force you. If you don't want to come, you can stay here," Su Yang said to him. I am willing to come. No, please let me come with you," Senior Zheng immediately said with a blissful expression. Su Yang nodded. "You can come, but just remember one thing. I am not accepting you as my disciple, and I am only letting you participate in our lecture as a guest." "I will definitely keep that in mind," he quickly said. "Thank you, master." Luo Wuxia also thanked him, as she had a feeling that he was doing this for her. Sometime later, Su Yang brought Luo Yixiao and Senior Zheng onto the flying boat with him, and began making his way towards the Kai family that was located near the western borders at Red Sparrow City Chapter 616. An awkward situation once they arrived at Red Sparrow City. Su Yang looked for the largest building from the sky. That should be the place. Su Yang mumbled to himself after seeing a massive building that occupied a few blocks in the streets. A few moments later, he descended in front of their entrance. When he saw the guards standing by the entrance, Su Yang approached them and said, You must be Senior Zio, here to pick up the young lady, right? The guards immediately recognized him and bowed to him in a respectful manner. Yes, I am. Su Yang nodded with a pleasantly surprised expression, as he'd expected to encounter a similar situation as he did with the guards at the Divine Nature Garden. I am truly sorry, Senior Zio. Senior Zheng couldn't help but feel the need to apologize to him again after seeing the Kai family's competent guards. I will definitely lecture those idiots properly when I return. The young lady is currently studying in her room. Please follow me. The guard then led Su Yang inside the building. When they passed by the servants inside, all of them would bow to him as if they knew his identity. The Kai family is well prepared. Senior Zheng sighed inwardly after seeing how the Kai family welcomed Su Yang and comparing it to how his Divine Nature Garden treated him. Sometime later, they arrived at Kai Yan's room. Knock knock, young lady, Senior Zio is here to pick you up, the guard said after loudly knocking on the door. A few moments later, Kai Yan opened the door and bowed to Su Yang. Disciple Kai greets the master. Thank you for coming all the way here to pick me up. Su Yang then asked her, Are you ready to leave? Kai Yan nodded and said, Yes, we can leave at any moment. Good, then let's pick up the last one. Once they were outside, Su Yang retrieved the flying ship and said, Since this thing is not meant to fit so many people at once, it will be a bit cramped. Oh, Kai Yan blushed slightly when Su Yang suddenly hugged her close to his body so that they would have enough room to fit all four of them inside the small boat. I'm going to drop you off at the Burning Lotus Sect before I pick up Bai Lihua. Su Yang said to them. A few minutes later, Su Yang dropped the three of them in front of Wang Xuren's house at the Burning Lotus Sect before going to the Heavenly Swan Sect. What are you guys doing outside of my house? Wang Xuren asked them with a puzzled expression after they knocked on her door. Did the master not tell you about our arrival? Kai Yan asked her. He was the one who brought us here. Su Master, I didn't hear anything about this. Wang Xuren shook her head. Anyway, since the master brought you here, come inside. We'll understand the situation once we ask him. Meanwhile, at the Heavenly Swan Sect, Su Yang landed the flying ship right in front of Bai Lihua's doorsteps before knocking on her door. However, after receiving 0 responses for a few minutes, Su Yang decided to use his spiritual sense to see whether she was home or not. When he sensed Bai Lihua's presence inside her room, Su Yang raised his eyebrows. Did he not knock on the door loud enough? Wait, this is... Su Yang suddenly frowned and he forcefully kicked the door open the next second before rushing into her room. Inside the room, Bai Lihua was laying on the bed, seemingly asleep, yet there was an unpleasant expression on her face, almost like she was having nightmares, and her robes were soaked in cold sweat. Complexion pale as sheets, sweating profusely, body slightly trembling, she's ill. Su Yang could tell that she was sick at a glance, but without proper diagnosis, he won't know the real problem at hand. He immediately grabbed her hands and checked her pulses. Her spiritual energy is a mess. What on earth did she do to make herself so ill? The frown on Su Yang's face deepened. This smell is... Su Yang approached Bai Lihua's lips and sniffed the subtle but unpleasant scent coming from her breath. This is the smell of medicine, and it's even poisonous. Why would she consume any medicine with poison? Although he was baffled by the confusing situation, Su Yang did not stand around to ponder and quickly went back outside and jumped on the flying ship before soaring back to the Burning Lotus Sect at max speed. Once he returned to Wang Xuren's house, he tore down the door with a vicious kick and rushed into Wang Xuren's medicine room. What the? Wang Xuren and the others in the house were shocked when the door was suddenly destroyed with force. However, their shock turned into bewilderment when they realized who was responsible for it a moment later. "Su Master, why are you in such a hurry?" Wang Xuren asked him in a confused voice. "No time to explain now. I will do it later," Su Yang said as he rushed into Wang Xuren's medicine room. Inside the medicine room, Su Yang swiftly but calmly grabbed a dozen different medicines. Once he had all of the medicine he needed, Su Yang went to the pill room next and tossed all of the medicine he just took from the medicine room into the cauldron. "He's concocting a pill now." Wang Xuren was stumped by Su Yang's incomprehensible actions. Less than a minute later, Su Yang left the pill room with a freshly made pill in his hands. He then jumped on the flying ship and soared back to the heavenly swan sect, leaving Wang Xuren feeling as though she'd just been robbed in broad daylight and before her very eyes. Upon returning to Bai Lihua's room, Su Yang tossed the pill inside his mouth and crushed it into small pieces. He then drank some water without swallowing it. Once the pill and the crushed pill inside his mouth was mixed together, Su Yang removed his mask and opened Bai Lihua's mouth with his hands. A second later, he pressed his lips onto Bai Lihua's lips before forcing the liquid in his mouth down her throat. However, Su Yang could not relax yet and reached for her robes a moment later. "Excuse me," he said out loud before ripping the upper half of her robes wide open, revealing a beautiful pair of breasts. Unfortunately, he was not in the situation or mood to admire the scene, and immediately used his finger to press very precise locations on her chest. A few moments later, Bai Lihua began coughing loudly. Cough, 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 cough. After a few rounds of coughing, Bai Lihua coughed up a semi-solid ball of green and black substance that reeked of a foul smell. Seeing the poison that was harming Bai Lihua out of her body, Su Yang finally released a sigh of relief. Sometime later, Bai Lihua slowly opened her eyes. "Su Yang." Bai Lihua mumbled his name after seeing his face sitting in front of her. "Wait, Master." Once her consciousness began clearing, she realized that it was her master who resembled Su Yang that was in her room. Then she noticed that the upper half of her robes were loosened and that her mouth had a weird and foreign taste to it. "Master, you." Bai Lihua looked at him with a terrified expression on her face, looking as though she'd just been assaulted while she was asleep. However, no words came out of her mouth, as she was simply shocked speechless by the situation. "Ahem." Su Yang suddenly cleared his throat and said, "Before you think of me as some predator who would assault women when they are asleep from pain, allow me a moment to explain the situation to you." He proceeded to explain the situation to her from the beginning. "I came to pick you up, but you didn't answer the door, so I used my spiritual sense to see if you were home. When I realized the situation, I allowed myself into your room to check on your condition. After understanding that you had somehow ingested poison, I went to concoct an antidote. I returned here as soon as I had the antidote and immediately fed it to you. But since you were unconscious, I had to force feed it to you through the mouth. However, the antidote alone was not enough to get rid of the poison in your body, so I had to perform some acupuncture on your chest to make you cough up the poison. I hope this is enough to clear up the misunderstanding. If you want more proof, look at the poison you just coughed up." Su Yang pointed at the nasty substance beside her. Bai Lihua listened to Su Yang's explanation with a dazed expression on her face, and once she realized the terrible mistake she just made, her face flushed with embarrassment and shame. I don't know how to apologize to you, Master. To think I had even thought for a moment that you were that type of person when in reality you just saved my life." Bai Lihua immediately kowtowed on the floor before him, even banging her head on the solid floor. "Calm down. Although the poison is out of your body, you are still injured. Su Yang said to her chapter 617, spanking her buttocks, even if you forgive me, I will never be able to forgive myself for this mistake. I'm truly sorry, master. Bai Lihua continued to kowtow to him, feeling as though she'd committed something even worse than treason. Please, punish me so I can feel less guilty. I won't complain even if you disown me as your disciple, Bai Lihua said. You want me to punish you? Su Yang raised his eyebrows. Yes, please, or this guilt in my heart will not subdue, she insisted. After a moment of silence, Su Yang sighed and said, very well, turn around. Bai Lihua immediately turned around without questioning him. A second later, pap, Su Yang spanked Bai Lihua's buttocks so hard that she nearly pissed herself. Ah! Bai Lihua Ned in pain with pleasure mixed within her voice. Master, it hurts, Bai Lihua said a moment later, feeling a stinging sensation on her buttocks. Naturally, or else it wouldn't be a punishment but a reward instead, Su Yang said. Anyway, tell me about your situation. Although I already have an idea what happened here, I still want to hear it from you. Bai Lihua nodded with teary eyes and began explaining how she'd got into such a dangerous situation. After studying the techniques you gave me, I had an urge to impress you, so I started making pills by myself. Of course, I would burn even the easiest pills at first, but after a few days of practice, I've managed to stop burning the pills once in a while. However, while I have stopped burning every pill, they were all of the lowest quality and too dangerous for consumption because they were filled with impurity. Then just a few days ago, I finally concocted a pill that was safe for consumption, so you consumed it. Su Yang continued it for her. Yes, master, and because I didn't know how much I was improving, I ate every pill that was safe for consumption to experience my own improvements. Su Yang sighed at her words and said, I applaud your enthusiasm in alchemy and feel flattered that you wanted to impress me, but using your own body to experiment on your own pills as a novice alchemist is quite the dumb thing to do, as you might accidentally poison yourself like today. I won't do it again, master, she said with an apologetic face. I am not saying you shouldn't consume your own pills ever again, but you are still too inexperienced for that kind of stuff. Once you are more experienced, it's only natural for you to do it, Su Yang said, and he continued, anyway, I'd planned on giving you lectures today, but you are in no condition for that. Spend the next few days removing the impurities you'd built up instead. What about my lecture? She asked, still feeling the desire to learn as she'd grown increasingly fond of alchemy after doing it for herself. I will give it to you once you are fully healed, he said. Thank you, master. Then I will leave you alone now. Once Su Yang left the place, Bai Lihua stood up with her hands on the buttocks that Su Yang had violated with pain. I didn't think he'd spank me for my mistakes as if I was a child, Bai Lihua sighed deeply, still feeling a weird sensation on her butt. What a blunder I've made today. I just hope he won't see me as a weird woman now. After sighing for a few more times, Bai Lihua went to cultivate to remove the impurities she'd built up from consuming her own pills. Meanwhile, after returning to Wang Xuren's home, Su Yang explained the situation to them. Unbelievable, to think that Bai Lihua would poison herself with her own pills. Wang Xuren didn't know how to feel about this incident, as it was weird for someone like Bai Lihua to make such a mistake. However, Senior Zheng, on the other hand, was impressed by Bai Lihua. She has never studied alchemy before you accepted her as a disciple, right? It's actually quite remarkable that she'd learned how to concoct pills by herself in just a few short weeks. As expected of Senior Xiao's disciple, she's a true genius. Senior Zheng spoke in a praising tone. Yes, I was also surprised to hear that she had learned to concoct pills by herself. However, having talents won't mean a thing if she can't use it because she's dead, Su Yang sighed. Honestly, what happened to Sect Master Bai isn't all that uncommon. There will be at least 1 or 2 disciples in the divine nature garden that would poison themselves from swallowing their own pill every year, but that only happens to novice alchemists that are too dedicated in their own work. Senior Zheng said. Anyway, since Sect Master Bai will not be attending the lecture, what are we going to do? He then asked. We'll have to continue without her for now, Su Yang said. Sometime later, Su Yang brought the 4 of them into the pill room and said to Senior Zheng and Luo Yixiao, since the 2 of you already have years of experience in alchemy, I won't be giving you any lectures for now. Instead, I will have you participate in some exercises that will significantly boost your ability to concoct pills. Really, there are such profound exercises. Senior Zheng's eyes immediately shone with excitement, looking like a child who just received his first toy. Su Yang nodded and said, it's really simple too. He then looked at Wang Xuren and asked her, can you bring 2 more cauldrons in here? A few minutes later, Wang Xuren returned with 2 new cauldrons and placed each of them in the corner of the room. Su Yang then went outside for a minute and came back with a few buckets of water and some ingredients. He proceeded to pour water into both cauldrons until they were filled to the brim with water, and then he tossed the ingredients inside. Go ahead and use your alchemy flames to heat up the cauldron. However, I want it to be exactly 300 Celsius, and you have to keep it at that temperature for over an hour without changing the temperature. Not even a single Celsius. Senior Zheng raised his eyebrows. Did I stutter? Su Yang responded in a serious tone. I understand. Senior Zheng nodded, and he immediately went to heat up the cauldron. However, he quickly realized that no matter how strong his alchemy flames were, the cauldron would only heat up to 200 Celsius and would not increase any more until at least 10 minutes later, and when the temperature did increase, it only went up by 1 or 2 Celsius. What's happening? Why isn't the cauldron heating up? Senior Zheng mumbled with a confused face, as this is his first time encountering such a problem. Is it because of the mixture you put inside the cauldron beforehand, Master? Luo Yixiao asked him with a sweaty forehead. That's right. The mixture inside the cauldron will absorb most of the heat from your alchemy flames, making it much harder for you to heat up the cauldron itself. If you want to reach the goal, you'll have to strengthen your alchemy flames. Increasing the power and heat of our alchemy flames is easier said than done, as that requires years of practice, Senior Zheng said. Is it really? Su Yang asked him. What do you mean? Su Yang then said, just like how one can quickly increase their stamina if they exert themselves to their limit, you can quickly strengthen your alchemy flames by exerting yourself. All you really need to do is push yourselves and heat the cauldron as though you are trying to melt the cauldron itself. But how are we going to control the flames if we have to exert so much energy? We won't be able to control the temperature, much less maintain one, Senior Zheng said with wide eyes. One step at a time, old man. You can worry about controlling the flames after you can heat the cauldron up to 300 Celsius. Su Yang said. Although Senior Zheng still had plenty of questions, he decided to keep them to himself, as he didn't want to appear too distrusting and was afraid that it might anger Su Yang. Shortly later, Senior Zheng and Luo Yixiao returned to heating the cauldron, but they were no longer controlling their alchemy flames and exerted all of their spiritual energy, causing the flames to go crazy. However, even when using all of their strength, neither Senior Zheng or Luo Yixiao could reach a temperature higher than 250 before they run out of spiritual energy and collapse from exhaustion. Until you can maintain the temperature I want for an hour, I will have you continue doing this exercise. If you cannot achieve it even after 1 month, I will no longer lecture you, and in Luo Yixiao's case, I will let you go as my disciple. When they heard Su Yang's words, their hearts became filled with anxiousness, and they immediately began heating the cauldron again despite their exhaustion, only stopping once they've truly lost consciousness. Chapter 618 Jade Flames. While Senior Zheng and Luo Yixio continued to do their exercise, Su Yang said to Kai Yan, "Since you have never concocted pills before, I am going to teach you step by step." "How much of the technique did you learn?" he then asked her. "I understand most of it, Master." "Good, that will make things much easier," he said. "What should I do, Master?" Wang Xuren suddenly asked him, feeling slightly left out now that there were other disciples beside herself. "You can do whatever you want until it's your turn," Su Yang said. "I understand," Wang Xuren sighed inwardly before going to concoct some pills. "Now, let's begin your lectures," Su Yang said once Cayenne sat before the cauldron. "Before we can even start concocting pills, we need to see what kind of alchemy flames you were born with. Not everyone is born with alchemy flames, but I can sense it in your spiritual energy, so you should have it." Cayenne nodded and closed her eyes to focus on the technique she'd been practicing for the past month. A few minutes later, a small ball of pale green flames appeared before her. "Oh, your alchemy flames actually turned out to be jade flames. That's a very pleasant surprise," Su Yang said. Just like Zhu Menji in the Holy Central Continent, who was born with unique azure flames, Cayenne was gifted with her own unique alchemy flames that are known as jade flames, a powerful but hard-to-control type of alchemy flame. "What? Unique alchemy flames?" Wang Xuren stopped concocting pills to turn around and stare at the green flames floating above Cayenne's palm. While she has heard rumors before, this is actually her first time seeing someone with unique alchemy flames. How lucky! "If only I was born with unique alchemy flames, my life as an alchemist would be much easier," Wang Xuren sighed loudly. Hearing her sigh, Su Yang looked at her and said, "Being gifted with unique alchemy flames does not always mean having an easy life as an alchemist." "What do you mean?" "Unique alchemy flames are basically a superior version of regular alchemy flames, right?" However, Su Yang shook his head and said, "While having unique alchemy flames may indeed be advantageous in many situations, but because of their own uniqueness, they are also much more difficult to control and master. It's like being born with a heavenly constitution, but not knowing how to train that body properly, which might cause more harm than good to your cultivation. And if a novice like Cayenne with her jade flames is taught by someone incompetent, her life as an alchemist would only become miserable, perhaps even ending in a tragedy. Anyway, if you also want to have unique alchemy flames, it's not impossible," Su Yang suddenly said to Wang Xuren, causing her eyes to widen with shock. "You mean I can also have unique alchemy flames? I thought you can only be born with it," Wang Xuren exclaimed in a bewildered voice. "No, you too can have unique alchemy flames if you absorb one. However, I doubt you will be able to find any alchemy flames in this world, as they require hundreds of thousands of years to grow. You can absorb unique alchemy flames. This is the first time I've heard of this. And what do you mean grow? How does one grow alchemy flames?" Wang Xuren quickly asked him. "Alchemy flames are no different than spiritual treasures in the sense that they can both be created naturally, but alchemy flames normally take longer to appear due to their unique nature." Wang Xuren was speechless. However, her heart throbbed with excitement knowing that she might be able to use unique alchemy flames in the future. "Anyway, if you want to know more about alchemy flames, I will tell you all about them later," Su Yang said before returning to Cayenne. "Now that we know you have jade flames, I will have to change your training methods." Cayenne nodded with a calm face. "It will take some time for me to write the techniques, so I will have you familiarize yourself with the jade flame for now." He then said to Wang Xuren, "I want you to teach her the basics of flame control and make sure that nothing goes wrong while I create the techniques for her. Just the basics, right? You can leave this to me." Wang Xuren nodded with a confident expression on her face. Once Su Yang went away to write the new techniques for Cayenne, Wang Xuren said to her. The easiest way to familiarize yourself with your alchemy flames is simply by using it. Here, try to light a fire underneath the cauldron by controlling your spiritual energy and imaging a fire appearing under the cauldron. Wang Xuren pointed at her cauldron. Yan nodded and took a deep breath before creating a small flame under the cauldron. Good. Now keep it like that for as long as possible. However, the jade flames disappeared only a few seconds later, and Yan began panting heavily, seeming out of energy already. What happened? That wasn't even 10 seconds, Wang Xuren asked her with a dumbfounded face. I don't know, Yan said in an exhausted voice. I tried to keep the alchemy flames active, but my spiritual energy depleted before I even realized. Do unique alchemy flames really consume that much spiritual energy? Even novice alchemists at the elementary spirit realm can maintain their alchemy flames for around 10 minutes before they run out of spiritual energy. But you can't even do it for a full minute while being at the 4th level true spirit realm. This is too weird. Perhaps this is what Su Master meant when he said that having unique alchemy flames does not automatically mean having an easy life as an alchemist. Wang Xuren finally understood Su Yang's words. What should I do now, senior sister? Yan asked her with a dejected look. How will she ever concoct pills if she cannot even maintain her alchemy flames long enough to heat up the cauldron, much less concoct a pill? You can only increase your spiritual energy at this point, right? But how much spiritual energy would you need to maintain such energy-consuming alchemy flames? Wang Xuren shook her head a moment later and sighed. I guess I am the incompetent teacher master mentioned in this situation. Well, there's not much we can do at this point but wait until the master finishes whatever he's doing, Wang Xuren said. However, Yan wasn't willing to give up so easily and continued to try to maintain her jade flames. Sometime later, this is impossible. Yan eventually gave up after failing a dozen times. Maintaining the jade flames is not possible when it quickly consumes all of my spiritual energy and I have no control over it. Why don't we ask Senior Zheng? Although he might not be at master's level, he's still a very prominent alchemist with decades of experience. Perhaps he might know a thing or two about your jade flames. I'm going to wake him up, Wang Xuren said before nudging Senior Zheng awake from his slumber. Did I fall unconscious again from exhaustion? Senior Zheng sat up with a tired look. Yes, you did, but that's not why I woke you up, Wang Xuren said, and she continued. Do you know anything about unique alchemy flames? Unique alchemy flames. Now that's a term you don't hear every day. Senior Zheng nodded. Although I know a thing or two about unique alchemy flames, I cannot say that I know very much about it because they are extremely rare. Why do you ask? Hearing his question, Wang Xuren turned to look at Yan and said to her, Show it to him. A few moments later, Yan summoned the jade flames for a brief moment. However, that brief moment was more than enough to shock Senior Zheng wide awake. Unique alchemy flames. You actually have unique alchemy flames. Heavens! This is only my second time seeing someone with such a gift, he exclaimed with excitement. Oh, so you know someone else who has unique alchemy flames? Wang Xuren's eyes flickered with interest. However, Senior Zheng's expression darkened after hearing her inquiry, and he spoke in a solemn voice a moment later. Yes, I knew of someone who used to have purple-colored alchemy flames. However, that person died in an accident when he lost control over his own alchemy flames, burning himself until only his ashes were left. Wang Xuren and Yan stared at him with a horrified look on their faces. This person burned himself to death using his own alchemy flames? Yan asked for confirmation. Senior Zheng nodded before sighing. He was a talented young man who was also my first disciple. However, because I knew nothing about his purple flames at that time, I was unable to guide him properly, which ended in that horrible accident. Wang Xuren was speechless, as she didn't think that he would have such a tragic history. Chapter 619. It's not too late to quit, I'm sorry. I didn't know you had such a history. Wang Xuren said a moment later. It's fine, since it was something that happened over 150 years ago. Senior Zheng sighed, and then he looked at the still unconscious Luo Wuxia and continued. I haven't accepted another disciple ever since then, but that changed when I met Wuxia, who was brimming with talent in alchemy, which helped me finally overcome my trauma. He then said to Kai Yan, I'm sorry, but I won't be able to give you any advice regarding your unique alchemy flames, as I still fear that my incompetence might harm you like with my previous disciple. Wang Xuren nodded and said, I also think we should wait for the master to return before we do anything we might regret. Heaven knows what he might do to me if I accidentally hinder your potential with my lecturing. After listening to Senior Zheng's past, Wang Xuren feared that Kai Yan might accidentally harm herself, so she refrained from giving her any more advice. I understand, Kai Yan nodded. Although she was slightly disheartened that they were unable to help her, there was simply nothing they could do at this moment besides wait for Su Yang to return. While I cannot give you advice on your alchemy flames, I can help you with pill concocting, because no matter what kind of alchemy flames you have, the basics are all the same. Wang Xuren then said to her, and you don't need alchemy flames to learn about pill concocting, so let's start from the beginning. Wang Xuren proceeded to explain to Kai Yan the process of pill concocting with details. As for Senior Zheng, he returned to heating the cauldron until he became exhausted again. Meanwhile, in the other room, Su Yang worked on Kai Yan's technique. Your Jade Flames is ranked 98 in the Unique Alchemy Flames ranking, and are much stronger than normal alchemy flames, even surpassing many unique alchemy flames in terms of fierceness. So it's only natural that they require more spiritual energy to use than other alchemy flames. Kai Yan is currently only at the true spirit realm, and unless she reaches the earth spirit realm, she won't be able to use her jade flames for longer than a few minutes even with this flame-controlling technique. After spending many hours writing the technique, Su Yang finally returned to the pill room, where Wang Xuren and Kai Yan were engaged in some sort of conversation regarding the cauldron. Master! Kai Yan's expression immediately brightened after seeing him return. You're finally back, said Wang Xuren with a relieved look on her face. What's the matter? Why do you look so tired? Su Yang asked them after seeing their exhausted faces. Well, it's like this, Master. Kai Yan proceeded to explain her situation of not being able to use her alchemy flames for more than a few seconds before running out of spiritual energy. Hearing this, Su Yang responded in a calm voice. That's only natural since you don't have any flame-controlling technique to properly use your jade flames. You mean it has nothing to do with her talent or cultivation base? Wang Xuren asked him with a surprised look. Su Yang shook his head and said, Jade flames are naturally fierce and require more spiritual energy to maintain than even most unique alchemy flames out there. Without a proper flame-controlling technique, it will be akin to trying to forcibly move a boulder when there are tools specifically made to help you move the boulder with ease. However, that is not to say her cultivation base is not to blame, as it's also true that she does not have the sufficient cultivation to use her jade flames yet. If you want to start using your jade flames, you must at least be at the earth spirit realm. As for concocting pills, you can think about that once you've reached the heavenly spirit realm. I have to reach the heavenly spirit realm before I can start concocting pills, Kai Yan exclaimed with a shocked face. How long would that take? Hell, she might not even have the ability to reach the heavenly spirit realm. Seeing Kai Yan's dejected face, Su Yang said to her, Didn't I tell you beforehand that not everyone born with unique alchemy flames will automatically have an easy life as an alchemist? The stronger your alchemy flames, the more effort you are required to put out. The jade flames are fairly powerful even amongst the other unique alchemy flames, so you will have to train harder than most people out there if you want to become an alchemist. Of course, if you want to quit, that's also an option, as you haven't truly stepped into the world of alchemy yet. I also know of many people who wanted to be alchemists but were unfortunately born with unique alchemy flames that could not be controlled or trained because of a lack of methods and techniques, forcing them to abandon their dream. Su Yang then extended his arms with a scroll in his hands. If you are willing to go down this path despite the challenges you will face, accept this. If not, you may shake your head, and I will immediately take you back to your family. After a moment of silence, she spoke. To tell you the truth, Master, I did not willingly take the test to become your disciple because I wanted to learn alchemy. It was purely my father's will that I partake in the exam even if I had no chance of passing. However, when you accepted me as your disciple and I began learning the techniques you gave me, my passion for alchemy started to grow, and after spending an entire month learning more about alchemy, I can say with confidence that I want to become an alchemist. Cayenne then reached for the scroll in Su Yang's grasp, and a second later, she accepted the technique. I hope you won't regret that decision later, Su Yang said with a smile behind his mask. Chapter 620 Preparations. Now that you have accepted the flame-controlling technique, I won't let you quit even if you want to, said Su Yang in a calm voice. This disciple wouldn't dare even if she were to be tortured by the master, Cayenne said with a smile on her pretty face. Anyway, you can start studying the technique now. If there's anything that you don't understand, you can ask me, Su Yang said. Yes, Master. Cayenne nodded before she began looking through the flame-controlling technique. Meanwhile, Su Yang turned his attention to Wang Xuren and asked her, do you still want to have unique alchemy flames after realizing the truth? She quickly nodded without hesitation. Yes. So what if I will have to work a little bit harder than other people? It's all worth it if I can become a better alchemist in the end. Now that I think about it, you never told me about your reason for becoming an alchemist, he said to her. If you don't mind, tell me about it. Well, you never asked me about it, she said with a smile before she continued. I have always wanted to become an alchemist for as long as I can remember, but I cannot actually recall the exact reason why I picked this path. I guess it's one of those situations where you don't remember why you're doing what you've been doing for many years. But oddly enough, I don't find anything wrong with that, as my passion for alchemy is as real. However, despite my dream to become a top alchemist, I was only able to enter an average sect like the Burning Lotus sect, and became a sect elder after many years of effort, whilst my reputation as an alchemist was nearly non-existent compared to people like Senior Zheng, who is renowned throughout the entire continent. If I had never met you, or you did not choose me but someone else as your assistant, I would probably still be working in the Burning Lotus sect auction house as a mere manager and without any real reputation. Wang Xuren sighed. Now that I think about it, you never told me your reason for picking me, she suddenly asked him. Surely there are countless people who would qualify more than me if you searched. Su Yang smiled and said, well, you never asked me. And then he continued, as for why I picked you, there is really no reason, as it was mostly on a whim and you were the first person I came across. Is that so? So it was only a coincidence, huh? Wang Xuren showed a bitter smile after hearing his words. However, Su Yang continued, while it's true that it was mostly on a whim, there were a few reasons that caused me to actually go through with it, as I don't usually move just on a whim. Really? What is it? Wang Xuren's eyes immediately glowed with anticipation. Well, first and foremost, you are quite the stunning woman, and it only makes sense for a man such as myself to want someone like you around my side. Wang Xuren's face flushed with redness after hearing his words, but it was not because she was feeling bashful, as she has done many things with him that were more embarrassing than a few words. In fact, the cause of her redness was due to the other people in the room. What will he do if they realize their real relationship? Since intimate relations, IPs between masters and disciples are frowned upon in the cultivation world, it would be better for their relationship to remain hidden. Of course, Senior Zheng, Kai Yan, and Luo Wuxia were staring at them with wide and suspicious eyes, wondering if they were really in that kind of relationship. I didn't expect the master to be the flirty type, even towards his own disciple. Cayenne thought to herself, wondering if she might receive the same treatment in the future once they know each other better. Another reason why I picked you was because of your smell. Su Yang continued, dumbfounding her. My smell. Wang Xuren raised her eyebrows awkwardly. The smell of medicine was abundant on you when I first met you. It's a smell only those who are always surrounded by medicine would emit, telling me that you are at least somewhat serious when it comes to alchemy. Well, there are other reasons, but does it really matter why I chose you at this point? Su Yang shrugged. I guess not. Anyway, you can continue your routine. If you need any assistance, you can find me in the other room where I will be cultivating, Su Yang said. And this goes to everyone here. If you need help with something, just knock on the door and I'll help you. Don't be afraid to bother me because that's what it means to be a master. Su Yang then left the pill room and went inside Wang Xuren's bedroom, where he sat on the floor and began searching inside his storage ring. A few seconds later, he looked at the red peanut-sized seed sitting on his palm. I should start preparing for when I finally consume this hellfire seed, he thought. While I won't have any problems consuming this thing, it's what happens after I swallow this hellfire seed that. Su Yang suddenly sighed in a low voice. Will there even be enough partners for me to exhaust the overwhelming amount of yang qi I will have afterward? This is actually his first time consuming a hellfire seed, and he was worried that the disciples from the Profound Blossom Sect wouldn't be nearly enough to satisfy his LUSD after he consumes the seed. The hellfire seed should be barely enough for me to reach the peak of the heavenly spirit realm, and if I am going to return to the divine heavens in 2 years, I must increase my cultivation base as much as possible before then. Su Yang stared at the hellfire seed with a dazed expression. 2 years. Just wait 2 more years for me and I will return to your sides. He mumbled in a longing voice, and he remained sitting there for a long time with a dazed face, seemingly in Deep Thoughts Chapter 621, a favor after spending a few hours concocting pills. Wang Xuren suddenly stood up and said, I need some advice from the master. I will be right back. After announcing her reason for leaving, she quickly went to knock on the door to her own room. Come inside, Su Yang's voice resounded a few seconds later. Wang Xuren then entered the room and closed the door behind her. Let's quickly do this before they get suspicious, said Wang Xuren as she began removing her robes. What are you so scared of? Are you worried that they might stop respecting you or something? Su Yang raised his eyebrows. That's not it. You probably won't understand it because you are from a dual cultivation sect, but in the normal cultivation world, relations, IPs between masters and disciples are frowned upon, she explained to him her worries. Ah, I see. Su Yang nodded after hearing her words. But just because it's frowned upon does not mean it's morally wrong or unacceptable. I have done many things that people didn't approve of and even things that made people hate my guts, but I never cared about others' opinions and did whatever I wanted. Su Yang shrugged. What exactly did you do? It was Wang Xuren's turn to raise her eyebrows. Her gaze filled the interest. "The same things I have done for many years cultivating with beauties," he calmly answered. Why would people hate you for doing something like that? You won't understand it because you have never been to that place, but there are women that many people consider sacred and should never be soiled. Of course, as someone who hates being told what I can and cannot do, I went ahead and cultivated with these women, which caused an outrage. Why am I not surprised? Wang Xuren said with a smile. I am more possessive than you might think, Xuren. Back in the days, whenever I saw any beauty was not already taken, I would immediately get to work and make her mine. As for those that already had partners, if they didn't mind, I also wouldn't mind. Wang Xuren was speechless, as it sounded like no women under heaven was safe with him around. Anyway, come over here. You'll catch a cold if you continue standing there naked. Su Yang said with a smile. A few moments later, Su Yang inserted his shaft into her hole and started banging her intensively. It's okay to release your voice. I have already surrounded this room with a sound-concealing formation, Su Yang said to her after seeing that she was desperately trying to hold her voice. Tilda. Wang Xuren immediately Ned loudly after hearing his words. And although she was worried about the time at first, once Su Yang started touching her body, Wang Xuren quickly forgot about everything else and only focused on indulging herself in the pleasure. Time passed quickly, and an hour later, Su Yang released his Yang Qi into her body. Wang Xuren's body spasmed violently as her cave gushed with her love juice. I cannot return like this, Su Yang. They'll immediately realize what we did, Wang Xuren said afterward with her entire body soaked in sweat. Then don't hide it, he said to her with a mysterious smile on his face. They will find out the truth sooner or later anyway. Hearing his words, Wang Xuren sighed, and she returned to the pill room a few minutes later after tidying her appearance. However, nobody in the pill room reacted when she returned to the pill. It was almost like they didn't realize she had disappeared for an entire hour, as they were too indulged in their own training. Wang Xuren inwardly sighed in relief after seeing this, and she returned to concocting as though nothing had happened. Once Wang Xuren was fully focused on the cauldron, the other three in the room glanced at her without moving their heads. Is she really going to act as though nothing happened? Senior Zheng wondered inwardly. Senior sister is quite darling. How can she act so calmly after what happened? Cayenne pondered to herself. Luo Yuxia was speechless even inwardly, as her mind had been soiled by Wang Xuren's intense moaning for the past hour. Indeed, Su Yang had lied about the sound-concealing formation, and Wang Xuren's loud moaning was heard clearly by everyone in this house. As for why Su Yang would do such a thing, there were two reasons. One, it was an effective training method for her mentality. And finally, he simply wanted to see her reaction once she realized what really happened. Unfortunately for Su Yang and fortunately for Wang Xuren, the three people who heard the moaning decided to act as though it never happened. So Wang Xuren was able to practice her alchemy in peace for the rest of the day. A few days later, Su Yang said to them, I won't keep you guys here any longer, and you can continue practicing at your own place. If you have any questions, you can contact me through Wang Xuren. He then looked at Senior Zheng and Luo Yuxia and said, I will come to the Divine Nature Garden again in 1 month to see your progress with the exercise. If you aren't able to achieve my standards, you know what will happen, right? Luo Yuxia nodded with a serious expression on her face. I won't disappoint the master. Good. He nodded and turned to look at Cayenne before speaking. I want you to continue practicing the flame-controlling technique, and in 1 month I will begin your training. If you show unsatisfactory results, I will also let you go. Do you understand? Yes, master, Yan said with a resolute expression. Su Yang then brought Yan, Senior Zheng, and Luo Yixio back to their own home on the flying ship before returning to the burning lotus sect. "What are you going to do now?" Wang Xuren asked him. "I am going to the Heavenly Swan sect to see how Bai Lihu is doing," he said. "I see, then I'll see you again later." "Wait, before you go I need a favor." Su Yang suddenly stopped her. "You need a favor from me?" Wang Xuren raised her eyebrows in a pleasantly surprised manner. He nodded and said, "I am going to consume the hellfire seed soon, and I need you to help me with gathering partners." "You're going to consume the hellfire seed? That's reckless even for you," Wang Xuren said with wide eyes. "Don't worry, I have plenty of methods to keep it under my control." "Then what do you mean by partners?" she then asked. "Cultivation partners, of course. Once I consume the hellfire seed, my body will become uncontrollably full and very energetic, and if I don't relieve that energy, my body will explode." "You call something like that under your control? And what about the disciple from the Profound Blossom Sect? You have plenty of partners there." He shook his head and said, "They won't be enough." "Then how many partners do you need? And what can I do to help?" "I need at least 1,000 partners, and you can help by recruiting them for me," he said. "You want me to help you recruit partners? And 1,000 of them?" Wang Xuren's jaw dropped from shock, as she could have never imagined that such a day would come. "Wouldn't it be easier if you did it yourself? I'm confident there is no lack of women out there who would willingly and gladly give their body to you if you asked," Wang Xuren said to him. "Trust me, it works better when it's spread through the mouth of others instead of myself. It's not my first time doing this," he responded with a smile. "And it's not as if I am asking you to travel around the world for this. I just need you to tell the disciples in the Burning Lotus sect that I am currently looking for females who are willing to cultivate with me. Of course, I won't ask them to sacrifice their bodies for free. They'll also benefit from it. Are you going to pay them?" Wang Xuren raised her eyebrows in a doubtful manner. "What? Of course not. If I am looking for PROSTATUTES, I wouldn't need your help," Su Yang sighed. "Sorry, but what are you going to do? After consuming the hellfire seed, my yang qi will be no different from a priceless treasure, as it will contain powerful spiritual energy that will greatly benefit anyone who cultivates it." "Really?" Wang Xuren looked at him with wide eyes. "Will it be able to benefit someone in the earth spirit realm?" He looked at her in the eyes and nodded. "Forget about the earth spirit realm. My yang qi will greatly benefit even those in the heavenly spirit realm." "What? It's that potent? You must let me cultivate with you then," Wang Xuren quickly said. "Don't worry, you will be one of the few to receive it first." He chuckled at her enthusiasm. Chapter 622, telling her the truth. "Okay, so I understand what you want me to do for the most part. However, I still have a question," Wang Xuren said. "What kind of partners are you specifically looking for? Young ladies, beautiful faces, slim bodies, mature women, any requirements?" "I am glad that you asked." He nodded his head before he continued to speak. "They must be at the 6th level profound spirit realm at the very least, or my yang qi will be too potent for them to absorb. As for their appearance and body type, I am not picky when it comes to my partners, so I don't really care for that." "Then when do you need their assistance? A week from now? A month from now?" "Exactly 1 year from now," he said. "I understand." Wang Xuren nodded her head. "Then I will be leaving now," Su Yang said before flying away on the flying ship. Once Su Yang left the Burning Lotus sect, Wang Xuren rested for a few hours before looking for the sect master, Xianxia. "What's the matter, Elder Wang?" Xianxia asked her after seeing her face. She nodded and said, "I need you to summon all of the female disciples that are above the 6th level profound spirit realm." "Just the female disciples? Is there a particular reason why you need the female disciples?" Xianxia looked at her with raised eyebrows, clearly puzzled by her intentions. "I just have a few words for them," she casually said. "Well, I don't mind. When do you need them?" Xianxia nodded, as he couldn't possibly refuse her request no matter what her reasons were. In an hour at the resting area in the outer court. I will immediately notify the disciple. Thank you, Wang Xuren said. I should be thanking you for your service, Elder Wang. The Burning Lotus sect is flourishing because of your pills and reputation. Xianxia said. Don't thank me for doing what's only natural, Wang Xuren said to him before calmly leaving the room. Once Wang Xuren was gone, Xianxia retrieved a jade slip that could communicate with every disciple in the sect, and cleared his throat before speaking to it with a clear voice. All female disciples with a cultivation base of 6th level, profound spirit realm and above gather at the resting area in the outer sect within an hour. Elder Wang has something important to reveal. An hour later, over 1,000 female disciples gathered in the meeting place, looking like a garden of flowers. What do you think we're doing here? The disciples spoke with each other while they waited for Wang Xuren to make her appearance. Who knows, maybe she's giving out pills again. Why would she need only female disciples? Maybe it's a pill that only works for females. A few minutes later, Wang Xuren approached the place with a calm expression on her face. Disciple greets Elder Wang. Greetings, Elder Wang. The disciples there immediately bowed to her respectfully after noticing her presence. Wang Xuren nodded her head at them before standing on a higher platform and stared at the disciples below her with a serious gaze. When the disciples saw this, they swallowed nervously. Ahem. After clearing her throat, Wang Xuren began to speak. Thank you all for coming here on such short notice. Although this might sound weird to some of you, perhaps even outrageous, but I am here to make an announcement on behalf of Su Yang from the Profound Blossom Sect. The disciples were dumbfounded after hearing Wang Xuren's words. Su Yang, the #1 genius who reached the heavenly spirit realm at 17 years old. What kind of business would someone like him have with us? As the disciples mumbled to each other, Wang Xuren continued to speak. Su Yang is currently looking for female cultivators who are willing to cultivate with him. Am I hearing things correctly? Su Yang is looking for partners to cultivate with. The disciples looked at Wang Xuren with wide eyes filled with disbelief. Wang Xuren nodded and continued. If you are willing to cultivate with him, head to the Profound Blossom Sect exactly 1 year from now. However, you must be above the 6th level profound spirit realm to participate. Furthermore, if you cultivate with him, your cultivation base will greatly benefit from his yang qi, as he will be consuming a valuable treasure that will turn it into a treasure. By yang qi, do you mean his white stuff? One of the disciples suddenly asked in a bashful manner. Yes, his sperm, Wang Xuren said without hesitation. After a few minutes of uproar and conversations between the disciples, one of them asked, are there any other requirements? What about the type of women he's looking for? Hearing her question, Wang Xuren shook her head and said, Su Yang said that he doesn't mind one's appearance or body figure as long as you are willing to cultivate with him. The average-looking disciples there immediately brightened after hearing Wang Xuren's words. Wang Xuren then proceeded to answer any questions the disciples may have for her. Meanwhile, at the Heavenly Swan sect, Su Yang knocked on Bai Lihua's door. Master, thank you for coming here. Bai Lihua opened the door a few moments later and greeted him. I see that you've recovered from the incident, Su Yang said to her in a teasing voice after he entered the house. It's all thanks to your effort that I am even alive, Bai Lihua said with an embarrassed smile on her face. Anyway, before we start your lecture today, I have something important to tell you, said Su Yang as he entered her room. What is it, master? Bai Lihua looked at him with anticipation. Ahem, after clearing his throat, Su Yang spoke. I might have told you a small lie regarding my identity. A lie? Bai Lihua raised her eyebrows with an ominous feeling in her guts. Su Yang reached for the mask on his face and removed it, revealing his face to her. However, unlike previously, his face was not disguised. Bai Lihua's eyes widened slightly after seeing Su Yang's handsome face, but she did not say anything even after many moments had passed. I didn't think you would actually believe me when I said that I only looked like Su Yang, so I rolled with it, Su Yang said with an awkward smile on his face. Ha! Bai Lihua closed her eyes and released a long sigh. A few moments later, she spoke in a calm voice. It's not that I believed you. It's more like I wanted to believe you. I already had a feeling that you were lying about your identity because of what Su Yin said on the day she first met you. Oh, can you elaborate on that a little more? Su Yang asked her with his interest intrigued. Only a true idiot would believe that you are not Su Yang even though your appearance had grown more mature, and I acted like an idiot because I did not want to admit to myself that I had fallen for you, Su Yang. Su Yang was slightly surprised by her honesty, as he didn't expect Bai Lihua to tell him the truth about her feelings. I know I have said that I would never fall for someone like you, but alas, Bai Lihua sighed. Of course, Su Yang remained calm even after hearing her words, as this is not his first time hearing that sentence. Why did you decide to tell me about your real identity? It would have been better if you kept it a secret forever so that I won't feel as guilty for liking you. Bai Lihua suddenly asked him. You would have learned the truth sooner or later, so I figured that I might as well tell you now before you get too comfortable with my alias, he said. After all, it'll be much harder to accept the truth the longer I keep it hidden from you. I see, Bai Lihua mumbled. Now that you know the truth, do you still want to learn alchemy under me? He asked her a moment later. I won't blame you even if you decide to leave. Bai Lihua silently stared at him for a good minute before speaking. I am already too invested into alchemy to give up. And it does not matter who you are as long as you can teach me alchemy. I won't have any reason to leave. Unless you are going to tell me that you've also faked your skills in alchemy next. Bai Lihua looked at him with narrowed eyes. Ha ha ha, if I didn't have any real ability, why would I even accept disciples? Just to let the world eventually find out that I am a fake alchemist. Su Yang spoke as he laughed. Don't worry, my skills are the real deal. If you study under me, I can guarantee you that you'll become one of the best alchemists in this world. Bai Lihua nodded and said, Once again, please take care of me, master. You can call me Su Yang when we are alone, he said to her. I want you to be comfortable around me. It's already too late for that, Su Yang, Bai Lihua said with a bittersweet smile. Don't worry, that will go away once we start being around each other more. He showed her a confident smile on his handsome face. By the way, can you continue using your other appearance even though I already know your real identity? I would rather be lectured by someone older than me, even if it's just the appearance, she asked him sometime later. Whatever makes you comfortable, he nodded before changing his appearance with an appearance reforming pill chapter 623, lecturing Bai Lihua after consuming an appearance reforming pill and changing his face to the mature Su Yang. He said to Bai Lihua, now that you have recovered, and since you have already learned how to concoct pills by yourself, I am going to skip the basics and focus on your alchemy skills. Therefore, I am going to watch you concoct pills and see what you need to improve on. Once you have reached an acceptable level in pill concocting, I will begin teaching you the more advanced techniques. I understand. Bai Lihua nodded. Sometime later, Bai Lihua brought Su Yang to another building that was recently renovated just so she could concoct pills there without bothering the other disciples and vice versa. After the preparations, Bai Lihua sat before the cauldron and began concocting an elementary-grade pill, the minor spirit refreshment pill. Su Yang stared at Bai Lihua with a sharp gaze and watched her every movement while she concocted the pills, even remaining silent when he spotted mistakes. 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. 8 long hours have passed since Bai Lihua began concocting the elementary-grade pill, yet she showed no signs of finishing the pill anytime soon. Of course, this did not mean Bai Lihua had no talent in alchemy. In fact, it was quite the opposite, as the average alchemists in this world usually require over 12 hours to concoct the lowest grade pills, with some even taking an entire day. After another hour of effort, Bai Lihua finally retrieved her alchemy flames and opened the cauldron a moment later, taking out a gray-colored pill from within. "What do you think, Su Yang?" she asked him with a slightly proud expression on her face. However, Su Yang merely glanced at the pill before speaking in a nonchalant voice. "How can you act so proud after producing that rubbish?" "Our rubbish." Bai Lihua's eyes widened with shock, as she didn't expect him to respond in such a rude manner. "If that is not rubbish, I don't know what is. Even a starving dog wouldn't even dare to eat that pill if you fed it," Su Yang said. "You don't have to be so rude," she said with a frown. "Rude? I am merely telling you the truth. A pill that cannot be consumed is no different from trash that cannot be recycled. If that is not rubbish, then what is?" Su Yang shook his head before continuing. "I am here to lecture you, not to praise your failures. If you want positive feedback, you should make something worthy of praises." Although Bai Lihua disliked his attitude, she could not refute his words. "You're even stricter than me when it comes to lecturing our disciples," she sighed inwardly. "Anyway, you can toss that trash to the side. I am now going to tell you everything you did wrong or could have done better, so listen up." Su Yang proceeded to explain to her every mistake she made from the moment she sat down till the moment she retrieved the pill from the cauldron. Once Bai Lihua realized her mistakes, Su Yang began telling her how she can improve or fix her mistakes. Many minutes later, Su Yang said to her, "Go ahead and concoct another minor spirit refreshment pill." Bai Lihua nodded with a serious expression before facing the cauldron once again. 7 hours later, Bai Lihua stared at the white pill in her hands with a bewildered expression on her face. Not only did it take less time for her to concoct this pill, but it was also much easier. Furthermore, compared to the low-quality pill she concocted previously, this pill was near the medium quality. How is this possible? I only followed Su Yang's instructions, even screwing up a few times during the process, yet the pill still came out almost medium quality. Bai Lihua doubted her own eyes, as her improvements were simply too fast, even jaw-dropping. She looked at Su Yang, who was calmly standing there with a casual expression. "If you continue to listen to my lectures, you'll only improve faster," he said after seeing the expression on her face. Bai Lihua nodded in a dazed manner. "Get some rest. We'll continue tomorrow morning after you've freshened up." When she saw that Su Yang was leaving, Bai Lihua quickly shouted, "Wait! What's the matter?" He turned around and asked. After a moment of silence, she asked him with a serious expression, Are you not going to respond to my feelings?" Hearing her question, Su Yang showed a slight smile on his face and said, "I will give you an answer once you've improved enough." What? That's not fair," she quickly said. However, Su Yang did not respond and left the room shortly later, leaving Bai Lihua speechless. "Is he really going to leave me hanging? I don't even know why I like him." Bai Lihua sighed inwardly before cleaning herself and going to bed, instantly falling asleep due to her exhaustion. The following morning, Su Yang appeared before her again. "I am now going to tell you your mistakes from yesterday." Su Yang wasted no time beginning the lecture. Once the lecture ended, Bai Lihua began concocting the minor spirit refreshment pill. 6 hours later, Bai Lihua opened the lid to the cauldron and retrieved the pill from inside. A medium-quality pill. "I have successfully concocted a medium-quality pill." Bai Lihua was ecstatic at this moment. To think she would be able to concoct medium-quality pills after just spending a single day with Su Yang. What will happen if she received lectures from him for an entire year? What kind of progress would she make? "What are you, a child? Don't be too quick to celebrate. It's only medium quality, not to mention the pill itself is only elementary grade." Su Yang shook his head at her. "You're right. I shouldn't be too happy about this. Bai Lihua did not refute his words, even agreeing with him. She then stared at him in silence, clearly waiting for his lectures to begin. Although your techniques have improved compared to yesterday, there were still many mistakes in your flame control and other things, Su Yang said before giving her more pointers. Sometime later, Bai Lihua began concocting pills again. The two of them would continue this routine for the next few days until Bai Lihua could concoct high-quality minor spirit refreshment pills consistently. I didn't think I would ever become an alchemist, much less concoct high-quality pills, as it has never even crossed my mind before. She spoke with a profound gaze as she stared at the white pill sitting on her palm. Compared to just a few days ago, the results were like night and day. Now that I can concoct elementary-grade pills with great results constantly, do I move on to profound-grade pills now? She asked him a few moments later. You think you'd mastered elementary-grade pills just because you can concoct the same pill over and over again with good results. You can start working on profound-grade pills once you can concoct over 10 different types of elementary-grade pills with similar results. 10 different pill recipes. Where am I going to get such recipes? I only have one recipe on me, the minor spirit refreshment pill, and they don't sell pill recipes just anywhere. Bai Lihua said to him. Who do you think you are talking to? Su Yang suddenly waved his sleeves, causing over 100 small scrolls to pile on the floor. These are. Bai Lihua looked at the pile before her and swallowed nervously. They are all pill recipes for elementary-grade pills. I want you to be able to concoct at least half of these consistently at the high quality. Half? Bai Lihua's jaw dropped upon hearing his words. How long would that take? Months? Years? You are underestimating your talents, Bai Lihua. Su Yang suddenly said to her. What do you mean by that? Not everybody can learn to concoct pills by themselves and be able to concoct high-quality pills only a week later. Although I am helping you, your recent improvements are mostly due to your own talents. Su Yang. Bai Lihua could feel her face heating up facing his intensive stares. This is her first time getting his compliments after many days of straight insults and strictness from him. If it's you, you will be able to master these pills in no time, Su Yang said in a reassuring voice. After a moment of silence, Bai Lihua looked at him with a resolute expression and said, If I master all of these pill recipes, will you give me an answer? I will, he nodded. It's a promise then. I will also come by here once a week to see your progress. If you need anything, you know where to find me. Thank you, Su Yang, she said with a gentle smile on her face. Don't even mention it. Then if you need anything from me, just let me know. A favor, huh? I actually have one, he suddenly said. What do you need from me? Well, it's like this. Su Yang proceeded to explain his situation with the hellfire seeds to her and how he needed partners for the aftermath, dumbfounding Bai Lihua, who definitely did not expect this kind of favor, even regretting giving him such an offer in the first place. Let me get this right. You want me, the sect master, to help you recruit cultivation partners within my own sect? Bai Lihua asked him afterward. That's right. Su Yang nodded with a straight face, leaving her speechless. Chapter 624, Cannot wait to cultivate you. You are truly the most shameless person I have ever come across, Bai Lihua said to him with a speechless face. If I wasn't shameless, I wouldn't be a successful dual cultivator, he chuckled at her words. I can't believe you are really asking me to do this. Bai Lihua rubbed her temples while sighing. If it's too much for you, you can just ignore it. After all, I am only asking you for a favor, he said to her with a calm expression. After a moment of silence, she said, While it may be quite a ridiculous favor that you're asking, I still need to thank you for helping me for the last few days, so I will help you out with this recruitment. Thank you, said Su Yang. You should leave before I change my mind, she quickly said to him. Su Yang nodded and flew away on the flying ship. Ha! Bai Lihua released a long sigh afterward, mumbling to herself in a low voice. How can you ask me to help you look for women to sleep with when you still haven't answered my feelings? Why didn't you ask me to help you instead? After standing there for a few minutes with a dazed expression on her pretty face, Bai Lihua summoned every disciple above the sixth-level profound spirit realm within the sect. And because the Heavenly Swan sect only consisted of female disciples, more than a third of the entire sect gathered before Bai Lihua some time later. Bai Lihua looked at the thousands of disciples standing before her with a perplexed face, thinking to herself that her reputation would definitely take a hit for what she's about to do. Most of the disciples within the Heavenly Swan sect were innocent maidens that have never had a relationship with a man before, much less have sex, so the odds of them giving their first time to a stranger they have never met before was slim to none. Thank you all for gathering here. I have a special announcement for all of you today, and I would normally never say something like this, but I owe this person a great favor, so I will be announcing this on his behalf. After taking a deep breath, she began speaking in an awkward and stiff voice. Due to Cirque, U.M. Stances, sect master of the Profound Blossom Sect and Heavenly Spirit Realm expert Su Yang, is currently looking for female partners above the sixth-level Profound Spirit Realm to cultivate with. What did you just say? A shocked cry resounded immediately after Bai Lihua ended her sentence, causing the people there to turn their head and look at her. Su Yin, Bai Lihua showed a bitter smile after seeing her face. Did elder brother really say that? She asked him a moment later. Bai Lihua nodded and said, Su Yang will be consuming a very powerful treasure, and he will need many partners to relieve himself afterward, hence why he's looking for partners. He also said that if you cultivate with him, your cultivation base will improve because of the energy from the treasure. Do you have any questions? She asked them afterward. Sect Master, what do you mean by cultivating with him? One innocent young lady asked. Bai Lihua cleared her throat before responding with her face slightly red. It means you are going to have sex with him. Have sex? The innocent disciples there immediately went into an uproar. None of them could have ever imagined that their sect master would ask them to have sex with a man out of her own will, especially when she usually expresses the opposite sentiment, and the disciples began mumbling to each other. Su Yang, he is the handsome young man at the regional tournament, right? Yes, and he's known as the #1 genius. I have actually been thinking about him ever since I witnessed his prowess at the regional tournament. I didn't think that I would be able to embrace someone like him. One of the disciples suddenly raised her hand and asked Bai Lihua, Sect Master, what else do we get out of cultivating with Su Yang? I don't know, as he'd only mentioned about improving one's cultivation base with his Yang Qi, she responded. Do you think he'll let us conceive his child if we helped him? Another disciple suddenly asked, shocking Bai Lihua with such an absurd question. Why you'll have to ask Su Yang that? She said after a moment of silence. It would be nice if he allowed us to conceive his child. After all, his children will definitely be talented, said another disciple. In the cultivation world, female cultivators usually choose their partner with the men's talent in mind before their appearance, as they would rather have a talented child that might achieve great things in their life than a good-looking child who has only mediocre talent or simply no talent at all. Now everyone and their mother will have a taste of my beloved elder brother, Su Yin sighed loudly. When Bai Lihua noticed that there were a lot of disciples who appeared excited after hearing her announcement, she began doubting herself. Perhaps Su Yang is actually more popular with the females than I'd initially thought. She pondered inwardly as half of the female disciples there chatted with each other with blissful and anticipated expressions on their faces. Sect Master, when does Su Yang need us to cultivate with him? One of the disciples there suddenly asked her. He said it'll mostly depend on his situation, but it should happen 1 year from now, if not sooner, she quickly responded. 1 year from now, huh? I cannot wait to have sex with Su Yang. Hopefully, he'll let me bear his child too. One of the disciples said with a vulgar expression on her face, dumbfounding Bai Lihua, who had no idea that her disciples were actually this perverted all along, even feeling a little bit dispirited by the unexpected outcome. Chapter 625, leaving it to fate after returning to the Profound Blossom Sect. Su Yang continued his daily routine of training the Profound Blossom Sect disciples and lecturing Bai Lihua and Wang Xuren once a week. A few weeks later, Liu Lanjai knocked on his door and said to him, "We have received an official letter from the Zai family, inviting the sect masters and 3 disciples to their household for dinner and our rewards from the regional tournament." "About time," said Su Yang with a calm expression. "When do we have to arrive?" The letter did not give us an exact date, only telling us to go whenever we feel that we are ready, she replied while looking at the letter. "So they're telling us to go as soon as possible, huh? When do you want to go?" he asked her a moment later. "I can leave within an hour," she quickly said. "Then we shall leave in an hour," he nodded. "What about the 3 disciples that we are supposed to bring? This is mostly for the Celestial Pond, but we still haven't decided on who we should pick." Liu Lanjai said, Then we can simply decide now. Summon all of the disciples in the sect." "Okay." Liu Lanjai then pulled out her jade slip and spoke to every disciple in the sect. "I want every disciple to stop whatever you are doing now and head to the gathering area as soon as possible. The sect masters have an important matter to discuss with all of you." 15 minutes later, Su Yang and Liu Lanjai stood before 1,000 disciples in the gathering area, both new and old. This is regarding one of the rewards from our victory in the regional tournament, the Celestial Pond." Liu Lanjai said to them. "The Celestial Pond is a mythical cultivation spot that can improve one's cultivation speed by 100 times if they cultivated there. And we have been given the privilege by the Zai family to send 3 disciples to train in that place for 7 days, meaning your cultivation will improve as though you'd cultivated for 2 years, or 700 days to be exact." The disciples expressed shock and excitement upon learning about the Celestial Pond, as it was essentially giving them 2 years of time for free, a peerless treasure and a massive opportunity for any cultivator. However, as you'd heard, we are allowed to bring only 3 disciples with us, and that is the reason we have gathered all of you here today, as we will be deciding here and now which 3 disciples we will bring with us. Liu Lanjai then continued, "Before we start, if you do not wish to cultivate in the Celestial Pond, please step aside now." The disciples looked at each other. Who in their right mind would give away this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity willingly and without anything in return? A few moments later, all of the legacy disciples and sect elders began walking out of the crowd and stood at the side, dumbfounding the new disciples. Who needs the Celestial Pond when we already have Su Yang? His Yang Qi definitely won't lose to some Celestial Pond. One of the legacy disciple mumbled in a low voice that was heard by many people there. Indeed, Su Yang was able to help them reach the true spirit realm from the elementary spirit realm in less than a year, which usually requires many years of effort. Although his Yang Qi might not be as effective as the Celestial Pond, they are able to absorb his Yang Qi on a daily basis, while the Celestial Pond can only be used once every 100 years. A few moments later, more disciples could be seen walking to the side, and they were the junior disciples. "There's no point for us to go there since we cannot cultivate until we are mature," said one of the junior disciples. "Is there anyone else who does not wish to go?" Liu Lanjai asked them later. When no more disciples stepped out of the crowd even after waiting for a few moments, Liu Lanjai said, "Then I will let Sect Master Su take things from here." Once Liu Lanjai stepped back, Su Yang stepped forward and said to the disciples, "Because we don't have much time, I will make this process quick and simple. I have hidden 3 ordinary rocks with my name written on it around the sect, and the first 3 to find it will be allowed to cultivate in the celestial pond." The entire place was dead silent, as they were dumbfounded, speechless by his eccentric method. Seeing the funny expressions on the disciples' faces, Su Yang continued to speak in a calm voice. "Do you believe in the existence of fate? Some people believe that no matter what you decide to do in your life, there will be events in your life that have already been predetermined by fate and cannot be avoided no matter what you do. Therefore, let's see which of you are fated to find the rock and cultivate in the celestial pond. And because I don't want this to take all day, I have limited the places where I can hide the rock. Firstly, it will not be in any living quarters or any building that cannot be accessed without special permission. Second,